and people that were not so political before, they're maybe not speaking out about it a lot.
American dream. He's just a common man, working hard with his hands. He's just a common man, working hard for the man. Hey, he's American dream. Hey, he's American dream. If you're black or white, redneck, funky, that's alright. Blue-eyed with a lot of soul, common man has got his gold. Hey, he's American dream. Hey, he's American dream.
That's right, Daddy. American Dream here with you today. Robnoerr. Thanks so much for being here. Welcome to the America Show. I'm host Robnoerr. Great to be home. Woo! Oh, man. What a week. What a week. Holy cow. I have a great job. I love working with people with developmental disabilities doing home health care. But, man, you get these, like, licensings that come through, the paperwork you wouldn't believe, stacks like that. So finally back, finally in the home office, finally with the camera, looking good. Got my new Zackrals hat on. This is the pumpkin patch I took Hank to this weekend. Love this hat. Fitted, too. Look at that. How about that? Representing the farm, the pumpkin patch. There you see in the chat, my friend Aircraft Sparky. I will be talking with him a little before 10 p.m., so in about an hour, and then we'll stick around with Sparky. I don't know how long his show normally goes. I would like to be wrapping up by midnight tonight, so hopefully we're able to accomplish that, but if I stay a couple minutes late, no big deal. What are we going to talk about? I don't know. It's Sparky Show. Part of what I'm going to talk about is I officially lost our weight loss challenge. I lost about 10 pounds. Sparky lost like 34 pounds in 2 months. And the agreement was that the loser had to go on the winner's show and talk about how great they are. So that'll be part of what I'm talking about. Yeah, usually an hour and a half, 2 hours on Sparky's show. So, but I'm sure we'll be talking about some politics, the upcoming election, insane shit that the establishment and the Democrats are doing all the time. So Sparky's a like-minded individual with me. I'm sure we'll have a lot to discuss with the authoritarian establishment that we see encroaching on us more and more every day. It's really amazing to just take a step back and just look at what we see every day. Yeah, Sparky just texted me. He said he's setting up sort of what the topics and stuff will be on his YouTube video. And also I would like tonight to just let my audience know. I'll be streaming as well, but I hope that my audience will consider checking out Sparky's channel if you like what you hear from him and the rest of the people on the show tonight. I think it's a great show. I enjoy listening. And, yeah, I think it's important that we stick together and support people, in these areas that are kind of pushing our values. Yeah, you're not wrong, Ian. There are ways to lose like a lot of water weight. I think that's what's most impressive what Sparky did. He was lifting the entire time and was putting on muscle as he was losing weight. So yeah, I know. I used to have to cut weight for football. You could lose 10 pounds of water weight really quick. It's not very healthy though. Maybe keep the web browser up so there's something visual happening instead of a splash screen. Yeah, maybe I'll take some suggestions. I don't know. People have talked about doing like the VTuber thing. I just don't know. I'm not good at marketing. That's not my strong suit. I would be excellent. I think if I had a national radio show, it would be excellent. I think if I had a producer that could do a lot of the technical stuff for my stream, I think I could take off, but it's one of those things. I don't have time to learn to be good at sort of that sort of stuff, the presentation angle of it. It took all of my tech abilities to get this little, the Normal America logo with the Restream chat and all that stuff. Yeah, Sparky did good. He really did. All joking aside, I'm happy though. I lost 10 pounds, and I'll be honest, I've sucked these past couple weeks. Haven't been terrible. Haven't been like eating tons of sugar and stuff like that, but I haven't been exercising as much as I was. So I'm going to try to get back in the groove. Yeah, no problem, Galil. Yeah, I appreciate suggestions. Yeah, absolutely. Before we get going, we'll talk about whatever the audience wants. And then, like I said, we'll be talking to Sparky here at 10. I'm in a weird spot where I've had frustrating time at work. Just no in particular person that I'm frustrated with. Just frustrated trying to get caught up with paperwork and stuff like that. So it's just kind of a headache trying to go through a bunch of stuff. But I also, so I'm going to be doing crazy hours this week. But tomorrow I have nothing going on. I'll probably attempt to stream tomorrow night, but it'll be a day that I've been looking forward to for a month now. Tomorrow, my son Hank gets his cast off his leg, which I can't be more happy. He is a trooper. He has not let the cast slow him down. He is now so proficient at walking with the cast, you can't even keep up with him. But he's just bursting out of it. He's ready to be out of it. For those that don't know, he fell and broke his leg about a month ago. He's been in a cast for about 4 weeks now. In fact, today was 4 weeks, 28 days that he was in the cast. From my understanding, what will happen is they will remove this cast anyways. Then they will do an x-ray. If he's good, he's good. If not, they'll put another cast on for maybe a couple weeks. But we're really, really, really hoping he doesn't have to get another cast on and that he's good. They don't anticipate where the break occurred. They don't anticipate any long-term effects. So I'm very excited. I'm so excited for him. I'm excited for us. I can't wait for him to get it off and be even more mobile than he already is. So, no, he fell off a couch actually in our living room. Is what he fell, and it was. The doctor explained to me it's an injury they see a lot with young kids, usually on trampolines. And the way the break occurred was he basically landed with impact on the bottom of his foot. and that kind of caused pressure, which caused a small fracture below his knee. But they said that they see those quite often with kids on trampolines. But it was just a freak situation. He hops off the couch all the time. He hopped off from a little higher spot than he normally does. But when he landed, I was at work, but when he landed, my wife said she could tell that he wasn't putting any weight on it, and he was crying more than he normally would. So that's what happened. And it sucks because, I'm a first-time father. I'm 38. He's my only child. And we have been incredibly blessed. He has been incredibly healthy. But just nothing to speak of, even with like just mild illness here and there, but no injury. This was the first time as a father that, there was a medical situation with my child, and it was a different feeling. And so I'm going to be overjoyed tomorrow. We had a great time. We took him to the pumpkin patch. He loved it. He bought these little gourds. He calls them pumpkins, but the little like warty gourds. And he's just been all about them all week. And then we went to a place which many of you probably have never heard of. There's a little town called Pymatooning, and they have a spillway there. And what it's famous for is all of these huge carp. Where's Crisco? He's always asking me about fishing stories. So there's all these huge carp and all these like seagulls and ducks. And there are so many carp, and they're enormous fish. I mean, they're 40 pounds maybe. And there's so many of them, the ducks walk on top of them. I mean, thousands upon thousands of these carp. And you buy bread and you throw it in, and you just see these fish like piling on top of each other to eat these bread, and the seagulls swooping for it. We took Hank there. He absolutely loved it. It was amazing. It was an amazing thing to watch him. So it was, that was Saturday. Man, it was just great. So I love doing stuff like that. I also got 4 tickets to the Pittsburgh Zoo here that need to be used by the end of the year. So hopefully one of these weekends I'll get to take Hankster out to the zoo. Me and Courtney take Hank out. Khalil's stuck in his room and he's going to piss his pants. Yeah, you got to do what you got to do. You got a window? Yeah, it's the spillway. That's absolutely right, Sweet Tat. Yep, absolutely. Great place. A lot of fun. So, yeah, it's worth checking out if you're ever in Pennsylvania. It's a cool thing. We had a lot of excellent things like that to do in Pennsylvania. I live right outside Cook Forest State Park. Amazing forest. Just absolutely amazing. What's up, Aftershock? How you doing? So, last thing. I'm going to put a link. Let's see if I can find this. Now, I have a Twitter feed. Not a lot of following on Twitter, I'll be honest. Not a lot of interaction. I would appreciate if you follow me on Twitter. One of the things, I'm not going to ask for your money or anything like that today. What I am going to ask is, I've been trying to get on some different shows. Sitch and Adam, I've been trying to get on. So I'll post a link to this tweet here. I've messaged both Sitch and Adam and their team, and I never get any response. I don't get response from anyone. So I was wondering maybe if you all have the time that you could post a link to my Twitch channel in response to that tweet. And I'll bring it up in the stream here as well. So there's the link I put, but here's the tweet. What content creators do you want me to book as guests on Sitch and Adam? Can you send me a link to their channels? If you all could respond to that with me, and I do want to give a shout out to someone did actually suggest me. Goodness, who was it? It might have been Surian. It might have been John. But I think it's a chance for me to get more exposure. They've had a lot of left-wing people on. Yeah, Surian. So thank you to Surian. Surian's always, and John Smith mentioned me as well. Surian's always really, really pushing for me on Twitter. So, what's up, Hume? Ashley, nice to see you. Yeah, I don't know what it is. Maybe I'm just not likable. I mean, I even did the Odyssey show with people like Lauren Southern, Samantha Savage, producer. I've talked to Samantha, was just on the Crucible the other day, called in. Yeah, we'll get you on Lauren's show. No response. The lefties don't want to debate me. And the bigger people that I'd love to stream with, your Steven Crowders, your Tim Poles, your Dave Rubins, I try all I can to reach out to them through, public emails, Twitch channels. I've reached out to Jackson Hinkle, try to work with him again. Maybe reached out to Jimmy Dore. I've called into Aaron Matei's show. I just never get any response. Yeah, I don't know, Ian. Maybe maybe they just don't agree with me. They don't like me. Obviously the bigger people like Tim Pool, he just doesn't know me. But Adam and Sitch, Lauren Southern and them, I would believe they know who I am. Maybe they just don't think I'd be good content for them, which is fine. Maybe it's that they don't want people that talk about the things maybe I make them sound bad. I don't know. But that's okay. If I never get on those shows, that's fine. I don't hold a grudge. It's not like I'll show them, I'll get big, and then I'll never talk to them. That's not what I'm saying at all. Everybody's doing their own thing. I'm sure there are people, in fact, I just remembered someone emailed me and wanted to do a debate on gun control with me. Nuance, bro, I don't know. Yeah, what's up, Gizmo? My face is here. So I miss it. I miss sometimes when people are like, hey, can you do this? Can you talk to this person? Can you talk to that? I've certainly been guilty of missing those emails and stuff. I was on, Lauren Southern was hosting sort of these Odyssey games. And so I did that, and I was drunk as shit because I forgot that I agreed to do them. And I was at a big party. It was kind of embarrassing for me. I ate a bunch of bugs and just talked a lot of shit. I never even rewatched the video because I was like really hammered. So I don't know. But it is what it is. I am going to be doing something with Alex Stein here soon. Alex and me have different styles, but I like Alex. And so I reached out to him. We'll be doing something. So, Nuance Bro does a conservative Twitter live almost every night with lots of conservatives that work on campaigns. Yeah, I'll reach out. Put a link in the chat here. And I'll try to follow RD. I'll just search Nuance Bro on Twitter here. Not to hold up the show, but and I'll follow and I'll try to reach out. I think a lot of it, and let me be quite honest with you, a lot of it is self-promotion. I don't know. One, I'm not comfortable with it. And second, I don't know how desperate it sounds. If I put a call out and said, hey, looking for people to come on my show, right? And someone responded was like, how about me? I'm good. That's probably less impactful to me than other people saying, what about this guy? He's really good. So maybe it just comes off as sounding desperate when I'm messaging people like, hi, my name's robnoerr. I ran for Congress. I was a national qualified debater. One of the best right-wing debaters on sort of the Twitch sphere. Here's some links to some debates I've done. Maybe people are just like, I'm not going to listen to some guy promote himself. I don't know. Yeah, I just followed Nuance Bro, so thank you for that, RD. I'll check it out for sure. So I don't know. But just saying, I would appreciate if you all could go to, again, that tweet. If you don't have to, right? Obviously. But if you want to help me out, people are always like, oh, I would donate money if I could. That's, I'm not going to poo-poo money. I'll take money. In fact, I'm saving up to buy a new computer again. But don't get me wrong, I'll take your money. But there are other ways that don't require any money where people could help out. Don't do it, Chicken McFry. Looking for a band. There you go. Woo! You did it, buddy. Well done. I gotta get on my YouTube to ban this guy. You did her, bud. Groiper? Yeah, thanks, Achilles. Appreciate it. What's my take on Ukraine? How long should we continue to help? Stop immediately. Help facilitate a peace deal. Help both sides come to the table. Stop sending weapons immediately. Actual Justice Warrior, I know. Yeah, I like him. He's good. What's wrong with my current computer? So I've had this computer maybe 9 months. It was a cheapo. It was like a $500 computer. I thought it would be able to do everything that I needed. So it's so weird. Like, I'll explain real quick what's wrong with my computer. It looks fine now, right? Okay. If I get a call on from Discord, 99% chance it'll be fine. But tonight I'll be on with Aircraft Sparky and we'll be on StreamYards. And it'll lag terribly for everyone. It's pregnant too much more. I can honestly assure you this computer has no games or no pornography on it whatsoever. Not even like music and videos downloaded. It's strictly used for things I have to do at work and things that I do for my streaming. I don't care about Jimmy McGill trying to change the narrative. Oh, Trump knew that the voter fraud wasn't happening. Blah, 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 blah. Do I think that... I'm not banning you. Why would I ban you? You come in, you try to shift the narrative, constant shifting away from the corruption of the FBI and stuff. Is Trump president? All my friends can't afford to pay their rent, right? We have evidence that comes out every day of the corruption of the current FBI and the FBI from way back in 2016. Evidence come out every day of the corruption of this president, the incompetence of this president. The border is porous, fentanyl deaths going through the roof, inflation crazy, cusp of World War III, and Jimmy McGill comes in and goes, emails show that President Trump knew specific voter fraud numbers weren't accurate, but he still said them. Yeah, great story. Cool. Slippin' Jimmy, yeah. Someday he'll be Saul, he thinks. But really, he's just Slippin' Jimmy. Open the task manager and disable everything except antivirus from the startup tab. I will try that next time, yeah. So anyways, I'm looking to get a new computer. So let's talk about Ukraine. Someone asked. So I've talked about... Yeah, I've seen like the first 2 seasons of Better Call Saul, and then I've on pause. But I definitely want to watch more of it. Let's talk about Ukraine. So there's this narrative like, well, if we try to get a peace deal brokered between Russia and Ukraine, won't that show dictators in the future that they could just use aggression and get away with it? And is that what it shows? What lesson have we been showing? I'll tell you the lesson our foreign policy has been showing, that you should attempt to get nuclear weapons by any means necessary, because that's the only thing that will prevent the United States from having a regime change in your country. Like Syria. So that's the lesson that our foreign policy's been showing. The lesson our foreign policy's been showing is that we'll partner up with people that we ourselves call genocidal, like Turkey, that's in our military alliance of NATO. That we say we have to maintain a presence in Syria in perpetuity because if we would leave, Turkey, our NATO ally, would commit genocide against the Kurds, our ally in Syria. What sort of lesson is that sending? I have no idea why I had the longest recorded day. I didn't even hear about it. So what's the argument? Again, Me saying that I want us to try to broker a peace deal, how is that showing that, the lesson shows then that you could just attack with impunity and the United States will try to broker a peace deal? Well, what are the things the United States did to escalate with Russia in the first place? We could be looking and saying, geez, although Russia is not in the right to invade, and I would never say they are, what could the United States have done differently to make sure that these things don't happen again in the future? Now, I've been saying for years, since before 2016, that the United States and NATO was purposely escalating tensions with Russia and was trying to cause a provocation. That's what they were doing with bombing Syria. That's what they were doing with the color revolution in 2014 in Ukraine, when Victoria Nuland's on the phone bragging about getting the person that the United States wants as president of Ukraine, who happened to be Poroshenko. The United States has been sending weapons. The United States has been saying that Russian trolls posting ads on Pokemon Go and Facebook was an act of war. Joe Biden has been out there saying that we need regime change in Russia. Achilles, can you ban Josh Thomas? Who'd I get? The left or the Groypers? I wonder. Meanwhile, what are we being told? We're being told all these mixed messages. So the same people that lied to us in foreign war after foreign war, lied to us in Afghanistan for 20 years, lied to us about Libya, lied to us about Syria, lied to us about Iraq. Now we have to believe them. If you're on, say something on YouTube and I'll mod you right now, Aftershock. But now believe them. They lied about all those other times. Now believe them, though. Now we believe them. Now we have to keep pushing for World War III and nuclear war, or else Russia wins, apparently. There we go. Thanks, Tickle. I'll mod you as well, but that should be all we need. Yeah, anyone dropping N-words, just ban them. Biden will never broker a peace deal, so now what? I don't know. What do you think, Goku? What should we do? Just drop nuclear weapons on Russia? Is that the alternative? Is that what we should do? Write a blank check, give it to Ukraine, let them do whatever they want? Is that it? Is that the solution? It doesn't matter what I think Biden will do when you ask me, in my opinion, what would be the best case scenario. If Biden chooses not to broker a peace deal, then I guess we pressure our elected representatives in Congress to force Biden to stop sending weapons in a blank check. If they refuse to do that, then I guess we get out and campaign as strongly as possible for people that will stop sending a blank check and leading us into World War III. I suggest that we make this point to everyone who's voting here accordingly in the midterms that are about to come up, that there are certain people that want to usher in a nuclear war, and we should strongly as possibly fight against that. The Democratic Party, the Biden administration, are the party of Liz Cheney, the party of Dick Cheney, the party of Donald Rumsfeld. That's who they are. They are the neocons, reinvented with the new woke veneer on them. But it's really just the neocons. Same old, same old. Does it mean that Russia are good guys? What we need is a peace deal. And if that means an agreement that's the borders in Ukraine are set a certain way, let them hash that out to the best of their ability. If that means assurances that the United States will remove itself from Russia's ally of Syria, we should do that. If that means that there should be assurances given that Ukraine is not welcome to join NATO, we should do that. If that means there are assurances that the United States moves their biolabs out of Ukraine, we should do that. Again, we're getting mixed messages. For example, we're being told it's all over. Russia got their ass kicked. It's over. Haha, great. I say, okay, good. It's awesome. Hopefully the war ends soon. And then they say, but please, we need billions more dollars. Please send billions more. Billions more, please. If we have to fight them over there so we don't fight them over here. Think of the lesson that will be taught if we allow Russia. Oh my God. Please send billions more. We need a blank check. MSNBC was freaking out today. Freaking out. Because they were saying, oh my God, if Republicans win, Kevin McCarthy says they might not give a blank check to Ukraine. Great. But MSNBC can't have that. That's the party of peace, the Democrats. Oh my God, not a blank check? Who knows where some of those weapons are getting into the hands of. Don't worry, 20 years from now, we'll be told, dangerous terrorist. Over in Eastern Europe, they got these weapons somewhere. We don't know where. Now we got to go over. Oh, well. Just like we did with the Mujahideen in the 70s and then saying, now we got to go into Afghanistan. Why worry about $1 billion to Ukraine when there's trillions in waste? That's such a great Democrat argument. Right? It's not just Democrats. This is an establishment argument, right? It's the Hurley boy argument. Let me watch your house while you're gone, please. I really want to watch your house. Since I'm going to be at your house, let me sleep in your bed. I'll clean the sheets. Don't make me clean the sheets. You already let me sleep in your bed. Let me move in with you. You already said I could sleep in your bed, so why not just let me move in with you? Like, that's the argument. Hey, we rip you off all the time, taxpayer. And you accept that, so why not accept billions going to Ukraine as well? Oh, what's that? No drinking water in Jackson, Mississippi? Oh, well. You just let us spend trillions of dollars on the Inflation Reduction Act. What's a couple more $100 billion to Ukraine? And then next it'll be, why not send hundreds of billions to other countries for their gender studies? You just let us do it in Ukraine. Right, no money for the wall. Yeah, that's exactly right, Aftershock. The people that, I said that during the wall thing, it's like, isn't it funny to now watch Democrats be fiscally conservative? Oh, we just don't have the money. The party that wants to send millions to Afghanistan for gender studies, and they've never seen a country they didn't want to send weapons to. Then we see leaks coming out. But people are saying, oh, there's no way that Putin will use nuclear weapons. Biden's at private fundraisers saying, we're closer to the cusp of nuclear war than we've been since the Cuban Missile Crisis. Think of how insane our country is and how fast the news cycle is. Then the president of the United States admitted in a closed-door meeting that we're on the cusp of nuclear war. And it's not even a top 10 story. No, Martin, we didn't all agree. The left pretended to agree, but that's just because they didn't like Bush. Once their guy Obama wanted to be the world police, and then the guy they hated, Trump, started to question some of those things, that's all they needed to say, yay, we're now the biggest world police defenders. And then we had the Washington Post, sort of the CIA propaganda rag, admitting that politicians surrounding our intel community said, in private, the Biden administration does not believe that either Russia or Ukraine has the means to win the war. And they have no idea how they see the end of the war coming. Isn't that convenient? Well, that's not good news for the people of Ukraine. We can't foresee an end to the war. That's not good news for the people of Russia. That's not good news for the people of Europe. It's not good news for the people of the United States. But that is good news for Lockheed Martin. That's good news for the Biden administration and their allies that they want to funnel never-ending money to, billions of dollars, that I'm sure that these politicians will be getting substantial kickbacks. That's good news for the World Economic Forum. Ah, Adam, is that you? What's up, Adam, friended? Probably not the real Adam Friended. Just a hunch. But maybe. If it is, welcome. Yeah, I agree with you, Martin. Absolutely. Yeah, I knew that's what you were saying. Yeah, I didn't mean to, if I sounded... Well, Adam, if it is the real... Yeah, you should have me on your show. I think I'm the best conservative debater on the Twitch sphere. I've ran for Congress. I was a nationally ranked... Now I think it's not, Adam. I do not need your social security number. I believe the all caps name gives it away. But thanks anyways. Now it makes you... Isn't it funny the things... Thanks, Martin Dillon. I appreciate it. I'm going to start putting more videos up on Rumble and I guess YouTube. Why is there a rift in the Republican Party when it comes to Ukraine? It seems like a hot button issue of late. Because the real divide in this country isn't Republican versus Democrat. At the top level, the leaders of the Republican Party, most of them fall right in line with the leaders of the Democratic Party. And that is that they're basically establishment globalist. They will argue about things that aren't really of import to them, like gay marriage or, to a lesser extent, abortion, though that does matter to them, right? That's what it's about. So you have the old guard of the Republican Party, the Mike Pence, the Mitch McConnells, etc. Dan Crenshaw's sort of a younger person that represents, it's like, gotta, just like the Iraq war, gotta fight them over there. Got to, right? And then you have the new wave, sort of your Kerry Lakes, your Joe Kents, probably J.D. Vance. I haven't heard all of them speak, but I suspect that they will be highly questionable of sending a blank check to Ukraine. Now, it's true of a lesser extent in the Democratic Party as well. That's why Tulsi left. She's a left-winger. She left largely because she doesn't like this. You can see left-wing people such as Glenn Greenwald, Aaron Mattei, Matt Taibbi, others that are like, why has it become Michael Tracy? It's become you're a bigot if you're against war position. Oh, there it is. I'm guessing that is Adam. Thank you. Yeah, Adam, you can watch debates of me debating Destiny, and Vaush won't debate me one-on-one. He knows better. But I've been on panels with Vaush, and I think I do very well. The last debate I had with Destiny on Joe Biden's record, I think I'm a better debater than Destiny, but he had the enviable position of trying to defend Hunter Biden, or Joe Biden. So he was starting off on the wrong foot anyways. But yeah, I'm a fan of the show. I would love to come on and do it. I think it'll be really cool. Maybe not the most handsome conservative streamer. I would give that to my friend Aircraft Sparky, who I'm about to be on his show with. Rotten bastard. Lost 34 pounds to beat me in our 2-month weight loss channel. Me coming in at a respectable 10-pound loss. Yeah, Destiny got destroyed in the debate. He knows it too. That's why he doesn't want to debate me. That's why none of these people. Destiny will moderate a debate while his boy Pisco debates me and gets wrecked. And then I get all the rejects that don't really have anything to say. None of them can defend the corruption. They speak in generalities. The CNN and MSNBC told me there's no corruption. And why didn't Horowitz or Durham get any convictions? Right. So let me check my Discord real quick. Aircraft Sparky is sending me the topics that we're going to be talking about tonight. Let's put a link up to this. This is funny. He's got a good thumbnail here. It's one thing I'm trying to get better on my thumbnail creation. There we go. Let's see here. We'll just put this. Here's the thumbnail. The Poors, Arizona. Election, immigration, inflation. Look at that. There's Peter Doocy and Pierre, the press secretary, and Stacey Abrams, and me. I don't know. Peter Doocy might be a little more handsome than me. We don't know. Should be good. Should be good stuff. Abort the Poors. I saw that, Sparky. That's a good topic. Yeah, Stacey Abrams thinks, you know, one way we can fight inflation is to kill babies. That's one way we could do it. Isn't it funny? Like, it's so funny how counterintuitive. Like, everything that these establishment people do contradicts itself. So, for example, big abortion fans, right? And you even have people like Stacey Abrams out there saying it. It's like, oh, one of the problems with inflation is abortion. Poor people that can't afford children, and now we're telling them they have to have babies. And those are the same people that will tell us we need massive amounts of immigrants because our declining birth population. So we need young people to take care of the old people. But also, if you're poor, you should just abort your children. Interesting. It's the same people that support the CIA and all of these regime change wars that destabilize these countries around the world. And then when the countries are destabilized, they go, oh, well, we have to accept all of these refugees from those countries that we just supported bombing the shit out of or ruining in other ways. And it's like, but wait a minute, you supported those positions. Well, you supported those institutions. You support the CIA. You say it's unpatriotic. Hell, you say it's domestic terrorism to question our intel agencies. But then when they fuck up, you're like, oh, well, now we have to accept all the refugees and send reparations. You remember the time I was on the panel and this guy was explaining that any country the United States is damaged, we need to send reparations to. In fact, it was on a panel with Vaush, I believe, when we were talking about Afghanistan. This is, I believe, the panel where Vaush was calling Biden Big Balls Biden. That was like 3 days after we found out that Biden bombed ISIS-K. Oh, wait, it wasn't ISIS-K. It was a bunch of children of an interpreter that helped the United States that Big Balls Biden decided his administration would bomb because they had egg on their face, because they relied on the Taliban, the very group that we were supposedly in Afghanistan fighting for 20 years. They relied on the Taliban to provide security for the United States because they let Bagram Air Base close before they evacuated all the U.S. citizens and our allies. Sounds like a joke, right? Sounds like a bad joke. Nope, that shit happened. And oh, Vaush couldn't wait to brag about Big Boss. There's Dark Brandon for you, right? Woo, Dark Brandon. Yeah, bombing those kids. That's Dark Brandon. He's hip. He's cool, man. He doesn't know where he's at. The Easter Bunny's giving him orders. Dark Brandon. But this guy, he called himself a libertarian, I believe. I think he called himself Black Libertarian is what his title was, okay? And he said, we're going to, all these reparations, all these countries. I said, how much are we talking? Billions? Oh, it could be billions, could be trillions. I said, just out of curiosity, where are we getting the money? He says, print it. I saw a clip today. It reminds me again of, I saw this clip today. It's just a little TikTok clip. And it's some guy like on the street interviewing people. And this kid's like, I think we should ban farming. It's one of the biggest causes of climate change. These people that you deal with on this online sphere, they don't know anything. Look, I come from blue-collar, rural Pennsylvania. That's the people that I have a closest affinity for. I suck at all the things they do well. Suck at it. I work with my hands like crap. I couldn't fix a car if I had to. I could barely change oil. My wife's more of a handyman than me. I suck. I'm terrible. But the people that do those things are the people I respect the most as the backbone of this country. I see these people in these online sphere. I remember at the beginning of COVID, I talked to this girl from Australia and she was like, we need a total, in Australia, we're just going to do a total lockdown and the government will just send us whatever we need. And I was like, so how long can this lockdown go? Forever, as long as we need it to. I was like, total lockdown. That means lockdown of everything. Yep. I was like, so like where you can get your food? Just curious. Do you live like off the land? Where are you getting your food? And she's like, oh, okay, well, we won't lock down farms. And I said, do you live on a farm? She goes, no. I said, okay, so where are you getting your food? Well, I guess like the grocery store. Okay, so we don't lock down grocery stores. No. Well, how's the food getting to the grocery store? What do you mean? The food doesn't magically appear. The grocery store is not on the farm. So how's it get there? Well, I guess people drive it there. Okay, so we're not locking down those people. What about hospitals? Oh, we're not locking down. They haven't even thought these things through. This guy says today, we should ban farming. What are you going to do? This guy didn't look like a farmer. So I'm curious how he's going to eat. And they don't care. And you could hear it, for example, when I have debates with people on climate change. Yeah. Almost all of them will eventually admit that their position would result in millions of people dying. Well, if we ban fossil fuels within the next 10 years, not only would it make lives terrible when people die in places like the United States and Europe, but countries that really rely on cheap fossil fuels for a living standard like India, they would be devastated. Millions of people would probably die if we banned fossil fuels. No joke, no hyperbole. And yet they're totally willing to make this sacrifice because they assume it won't be them. It'll be other people dying, so who gives a shit? Yeah, it'd be billions probably that would die. We can see the disastrous policy, and then people are unwilling to accept it. And this is the problem. When you control the narrative, and when all of these establishment institutions control how people talk about things, and your favorite celebrity and the academics are saying it, and the corporate leaders are saying it, and the politicians are saying it, most people just want to be left alone. They're like, okay. And then once it's like, by the way, this winter, people of Europe, you might not have energy. Sorry. You might lose your home and your place of business because the energy prices are going through the roof. But hey, here's Greta Thunberg. How's she doing today? She's good. She's doing good. When you're cold with your family this winter in Europe and you can't afford to have the heat on, warm yourself with thoughts of Greta Thunberg. You'll be all right. Yeah, eat the bugs. They're not going to eat the bugs. They might do it for show, but they'll be having their veal and, lockdowns for you. You can't go visit your family. Gavin Newsom will head to the French Laundry, though, and have a fancy dinner. Lori Lightfoot will get her hair done. She has to. She has to look good. The establishment. I like that. That's good. Anyways, things are looking pretty bad right now, economically, etc. I'm getting a report. What are the Democrats talking about? Oh, January 6th. Cool. Getting their mileage out of that, right? Oh boy, January 6th. Someone intrepid lefty just came on my Twitch to say, oh, here's a link to an article that says that Trump was aware that the specific numbers he was giving of voter fraud weren't true, and yet he still kept talking about it. Was he aware of that? I don't know. My gut feeling is Trump firmly believed that there were shenanigans going on in the election. He has every right to believe that. There are a lot of things that look shady. There are a lot of unanswered questions. Those questions deserve to be answered. To me, the reaction to stories like this always make me more skeptical than the actions themselves. So when I was told, most secure election ever, and we'll ban anyone who thinks otherwise, I wonder. Just like when I was told, we'll ban anyone who says that COVID could have came from a lab in Wuhan. That's racism. We'll ban you. You shouldn't be allowed to say that. We'll ban anyone that says that lockdowns for children are bad or that lockdowns in general are bad. That's anti-science. Don't trust that bullshit. Oh, by the way, it's great to hear that the CDC is going to vote tomorrow to put COVID on the recommended vaccine list for children, and most states use that list to decide which vaccinations are required before your kids could go to school. Yay! By the way, my understanding is, and I have to check into this, that the real rub of this is that this will effectively make the companies that created that vaccine immune from lawsuits. That's right, Vita. That's right. Okay, here's what we're going to do. You're going to lose me visually for a moment. No! And then I'm going to try to join the stream with Sparky here. It'll be a good talk. You guys will like Sparky if you haven't met him already. Great guy. Boop, 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 boop. Let's see here. No, we don't care about that. Don't care about Bubba Wallace. Don't care about... What a joke, right? Bubba Wallace, NASCAR, back in the news. What do? Did he find another garage pull? Nope. By the way, while I'm thinking about it, did they ever find that Supreme Court leaker? Oh, no. Oh, interesting. Oh, well. How about the January 6th pipe bomber? What? This is not good. Didn't find them either? Huh, that's interesting. Oh, come on. What is happening? Oh, I see what happened. Now we'll try it. Mr. Technology here. What can you do? All right. Check. All right, looking good.
Oh, there's Rob.
This guy.
There he is.
What's up, Rob? How you doing, brother?
Good,
It's
good.
John DeLuise.
I wish. I work for Mel Brooks, you son of a bitch.
Oh, sorry, but as soon as I saw that face, that's what went through my head. I was waiting.
That's a
I
compliment.
was waiting for it to go, Dan, 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 Captain Chaos.
So Batman is our international correspondent. He's in the UK. Great guy. Lots of dad jokes. Kieran is my co-host. He's
Great
in,
guy, lots of dad jokes. Those two are not. It's not the same thing at all. Lots of dad jokes does not make great guy.
No, it really kind of does.
But it's not mutually exclusive, right? You could.
No, it's not.
It's like oil and water.
I just realised something.
Like,
I'm going to make another crack at your Rob's.
Woman, go get me a Mountain
appearance
Dew.
here.
Go for it.
Yeah,
I love it.
If you give you
And then you have work that you need to be doing.
an old-fashioned shirt and a wide floppy hat with an ostrich feather,
Yeah, the thing with the thing.
you'd be Porthos.
I don't know.
It's the shape of the face and the facial hair.
How's the hair doing? The bald.
Well, you'd be wearing a wig, wouldn't you?
Dom DeLuise's hair was thinning near the end.
That's true.
No, and Dom DeLuise was freaking awesome, dude.
I used to get back in my partying days, right? Like you're a fat guy
I
that's
don't know
drinking,
what
so
they
you
were
get the same. You get the same thing, like the Belushi, the Chris Farley when I didn't have facial hair, etc. And people would be like, "You know who you look like?" And I'd always say, "You know who everyone tells me I look like? Brad Pitt." No one ever got the joke. I get it all the time. Brad, they're like, "You're a dead ringer, Brad Pitt. You look like Brad Pitt and Troy." You know,
Yeah.
It's not bad.
How
Chiseled
drunk-
physique.
So how drunk were these people?
They were drunk.
Well.
One day, I used to love just making stuff up. I told this party, I was in
Hey,
West
Caitlin.
Virginia at this party one
Hello,
time, and I
Caitlin's
told
hand.
people, a 2-day party, I told them that my cousin was Jack Black, and that he was this big a-hole that kind of shunned the family once he went off with Tenacious D and got famous, and how now he won't even come back to his hometown, and it's just all bullshit. So there's like 20, 30 people that are like, to this day, hopefully 15 years later, like, heard Jack Black's a huge a-hole, like he shunned his cousin. But probably Jack Black's probably a really nice guy, but sorry, Jack, if you're listening.
Doubtful.
Right.
We're on the wrong
probably a
side of the
lefty.
world for Jack. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, no, not probably.
Oh, is he? I don't even know. I don't follow.
Oh,
celebrities.
yeah. He's. Well, Jack Black, I always thought he was funny. And so.
Jack Black, I think, he can be funny. He can be very funny, but I think he's much better as a serious actor.
Yeah, he's been good. I never know. Like you,
I know it gets panned a lot, but it's in my DVD collection, and I do really like his remake of King Kong.
yeah, it's not. He's decent in it. He really is. I think he's the high point of that movie. Better than Adrian
Well, actually,
Brody.
no, the giant gorilla was, but
Like,
I know what you mean.
Okay, what was that actor's name? The big gorilla. It was just self-titled King Kong.
Yeah. I think he was.
Haven't
royalty
seen him
as
in
well.
much since. I really would like to see him in a comedy or something.
Well, he killed Samuel L. Jackson in Skull Island.
That's true. That'll probably keep you off Hollywood's, A-list. murdering
found,
fellas.
Hey, the weird
The
thing
sharks in what was it, Deep Blue Sea? They aged
Yeah.
Samuel Jackson. They got another role later on.
That's true.
the funny thing about that Kong Skull Island is Brie Larson was in it. I saw that film. I enjoyed that film, and I can't remember seeing her in it. And she was apparently one of the major characters.
That was before? What's she? She's Ms. Marvel.
Captain Mabel.
Yeah, Captain Marvel. Yeah.
You know what was
Captain
funny?
No
I watched
Carl
that
Manders.
movie. So here's my take. Like, I think sometimes people go like, look, I'm against woke Hollywood as much as anyone, but sometimes people go further than I would. This is what I thought was funny about Captain Marvel, the actual Captain Marvel movie. The one thing that I thought was hilarious. They kept doing that. She has amnesia. Spoiler alert if you haven't seen Captain Marvel. So she's got amnesia, and she keeps remembering these high points of her life, right? Like her parents and the woman that got her into being an Air Force pilot, you know? And so it keeps hitting these like 4 high points of her life. And one of the high points that they show in her amnesia flashback, like one of the only things she could remember is just a bunch of drunk male Air Force guys going, "That's why they call it a cockpit." And I'm just like, really? Like, you have amnesia, and it's like, I remember my mom and dad, I remember my hero, and I remember some guy's shitty joke in the bar that said cockpit. That was the part of the movie I was like, nah, what is this horse shit? Like, the rest of the stuff, just a woman kicking a bunch of guys' butts, whatever. I didn't really
It actually was kind of realistic, though, coming from an Air Force vet.
It was
misogyny is great. Yeah,
it was a very bland movie.
It was.
Yeah,
It was.
But the funny thing is, it wasn't as boring as the Black Panther movie.
I didn't even see it. I'm way behind.
Yeah.
I liked like that first run of Marvel movies, like the first Iron Man. I liked, and it has nothing to do with getting woke. I just literally, it's just oversaturated. Like when I'm 38, so I remember like obviously the old like, you know, Michael Keaton Batman and stuff like that was cool.
Yep.
But other than, and then you had the Christopher Reeve Superman. But other than that, like the X-Men movie when it came out around 2000 or whatever, it was like cool, a comic book movie. And now it's like, holy cow, every 2 weeks.
You're gonna get silenced in exactly 1 minute.
Actually, right about now. Welcome back, everybody. It's your boy Aircraft Sparky with another edition of Thursday Night Streams on Wednesday night. And with me, as always, the man, the myth, the legend, the Mountain Dew. Kieran Halcyon, how are you doing tonight, sir?
It's delicious. Also, you need to find a new gag.
I do. All the way from across the pond, the Dark Knight with a spot of tea, the Batman. How are you doing, UK edition?
Does that answer your question?
Fair enough. And our special
question. We need to address this. The question here is that like good ominous music or bad ominous music?
It's ominous music. It's never good.
There were.
Ominous music is never good. Somebody's going to get hurt.
But is it Batman getting hurt or is it the bad guys getting hurt?
Everybody gets hurt.
No,
It just depends upon the degree.
That's fair.
That's fair. And our special guest tonight, former congressional candidate, Twitch political commentator, and wonderful debater, the conservative big boss of Twitch, and
Don DeLuise.
My personal friend, robnoerr. Thank you for coming to the show. Rob is here basically to pay a pittance He made a mistake. He decided to
was-
challenge me.
You said he was a great debater. Would you say that he is a master debater?
He would be a master debater, yes.
All right.
And if he worked on a fishing vessel, he would probably be a baiter.
It's true.
Does he debate a lot of people? Like en masse?
So we used to hear this. I debated for Clarion University. Used to hear the master debater joke a lot. So I wanted to get shirts made for my team. It said Clarion Debate, we're master debaters. And then on the back, it was going to say, we also jerk off a lot. And obviously the school would not go for that shirt. But I told that story at a tournament I was at once, drinking with some people. And the next day I'm in this university and my assistant coach is talking to these professors and they're talking to me because I'm this pretty good debater. And students start going through the hall, these college students, and someone stops and yells, "Hey, it's that guy that jerks off a lot," like right in front of this meeting. So I had to like explain like, "Oh, that's just a joke, cuz," you know. It's like I've been on campus one day and I already have the reputation as the guy who jerks off. So. By the way, I lost my congressional run. Who could have saw that coming, right?
Hey, look, you were kind of an outsider, you know, and that right there brings the establishment into question, and they are going to do everything to shut you up, and they did. Congratulations, but I'm sure you made them nervous while you were there, and that's really all that matters.
Yeah. So it's like at the end of every term, you guys in the States, you have a debate contest against the neighbouring school or something like that. We have something similar over here at least when I was at school. So the end of every term, you'd gather up a pool cues, bats, cricket bats,
billiard balls and socks.
Yeah, sticks with nails in them, and go and debate the school next door.
Yeah, like it was big here. Debate hooliganing. You know, like you heard about it all the time. I've got one or two cricket bats upside my head. You know.
Yeah, but over there, did the teachers join in?
No. We're
here.
weak. We're always half a step behind you Brits. You know, like we speak proper American, not proper English. Our hooliganings. We did have, if you saw at that University of Tennessee game, the one Alabama player whacked that girl in the head. So we're trying to catch up. You know, we are. But,
plus the post-game hooliganing at the Tennessee game. Oh my God. Ooh, I trashed that place.
It's good stuff. So I am probably the only person that has handed an L online to Rob, and that is only through a weight loss debate. We have debated a couple times, and look, he is masterful with his words. He is great with rhetoric, and but what he isn't so great as, he's not great at
tap dancing.
Yes, he cannot tap dance for shit.
Are you sure?
Don't feel bad, Rob. Sparky reads at a third grade level. So.
Yeah.
But a really good third grade. So
yeah, we're talking third grade Western Samoa here.
Yeah.
Look, I graduated sixth grade.
See, graduated, not graduated. Graduated.
I had people
spokesy
in my senior class who were reading Bernstein Bears. I'm just saying.
Nice.
I'm just saying.
But they were football players.
Not all of them.
Bet some of them were politicians.
And actually, our quarterback graduated in the top 10% of the class. So.
But look, Rob was at a disadvantage here because, well, being in the military, I've had to spend I spent a good bit of my adult life yo-yoing with weight, and so I know all kinds of tricks to lose weight. Although I did not pull out my my final thing.
I've seen his final form.
Rob,
yeah, my final form is
behind how Sparky beat you in losing weight.
Yeah,
he had himself weighed on the vomit comet.
Ah.
Yeah,
See,
yeah.
I thought there could have been all kinds shady scales. Perhaps he put like weights on when he weighed in. We don't know. You can even see it in your face, man. You actually, before I get to the joking, you actually look really good, and I think that it's amazing. You know, I was explaining.
Do you need
I don't
spectacles?
Like,
do you need spectacles?
Here, wait. Let me check here. my Harry Potter glasses on. Yeah, he looks good.
You look even more like Dom DeLuise there.
That's when I do my lefty. I put a little kerchief on and put my glasses on to be a lefty.
Oh wow.
No, he did good. I lost
full-
10
it
pounds.
was full
Sparky
Ascot.
lost like 34 in 2 months. The wager was that the loser had to come on the winner's show and talk about how great they were. So here I am all night to talk about how great Sparky is, which he is fantastic. Would probably be better at everything that I do,
Your
including
nose
tap
is
dancing.
growing.
No, we're not going to subject you to that because we've got you for some valuable time and we've got a lot of important things to talk about. But before we do that, we're going to take a moment to thank our wonderful members. If you'd like to become a member, you may do so by hitting that join button down below. For as little as $1.99, you can help support this type of content and let us take the piss out of the left and whatever else comes up. And we're going to start off with the OG Attack Bunny. And of course, let's be frank, both at executive producer Crazy Chicken 132, operations staff Jason Finch and Joseph Diurna, and of course our wonderful support crew consisting of Granite Guy, Will Sitter, Ocean Breeze Salty, and Mina, our wonder from down under. We appreciate y'all all.
They'll be sending you that bag of gold any day now.
Yeah. I'm
Oh,
working
see,
hard
Zio.
on it, man. Boy and they.
I see Zeal Gold's in the chat.
Zio, here's the thing. Berenstain Bears is easier than R.L. Stein.
Yeah.
Burns, I've heard of these Bernstein Bears. There's like 2 levels above a pop-up book.
No, so okay, it goes pop-up books, Dr. Seuss, Berenstain Bears, and then maybe R.L. Stein.
Oh, Dr. Seuss is harder than Berenstain Bears, right? It's tongue
No,
twisters.
but see,
I
Dr. Seuss is written in rhyme most times.
True.
I was reading.
You're a
I was
poet,
reading
you
at
didn't
Dr.
even know
Seuss
it.
level when I was 4.
Yeah, and now I'll tell you, at least there was a
Comic
theme
books,
with a
you
lot
see.
of
They help a lot.
At least there was a theme with Dr. Seuss. My favorite Dr. Seuss book is The Bitter Butter Battle, which is literally about the wall in Germany.
Well, okay, so
it
here's
was
the thing.
these
Seuss
nuclear
wrote these books
standoff.
that were allegorical of major world events, but he wrote them in such a way, and he slid them in such a way that it's like, oh, it's for kids.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
They were
See,
actually code letters to his masters on the Iron Curtain.
I mean,
So-
look, Dick and Jane based.
I've been
Pete
telling
and Jane
people,
over here.
you can talk about people's reading level all you want. I had always been setting a resolution. I need to read more. Past couple years, I hadn't been reading as much. I kid you not, this year, I've been reading probably about a dozen books a week. So I've just been crushing it. Now, most of them are 4 pages and they're cardboard. They're for my son that I'm reading to. But they're still complete books.
I was waiting for that.
I learned,
No one
I learned
asked
to read,
what books. It's just...
I learned to read because I even as before I went to school, I like comics, and comics have pictures, but the pictures are part of the story. And if you've got any level of intelligence, you'll be able to pick up on it, and it actually teaches you to read. So by the time I was 4, I could actually read.
I got some
I-
reading. Here's some of the things I've been reading. We got the Mueller report that I've gone through. The
I see you
Permanent
like fiction as
Coup
well.
by Lee Smith, and then
I
Greg
saw that.
Jarrett, Witch Hunt, and then also I picked up at the same time this coloring book of Idris Elba. It says here, "Colorful Fantasies with the Sexiest Man Ever." So there you have it.
No, that's
a
Idris
fellow
Elba, not
Brit,
me.
right? Yeah,
That's
maybe it is.
Idris Elba, not me.
Batman might
does
be
he,
Idris
offer the
Elba.
A
women-
lot alike, but that's not him.
Yeah.
But does he offer the women a fish sandwich? Can I get you a fish sandwich?
What the hell are you
mean,
on about,
'cause
Sparky?
That's what the ladies' man would do. I'm just saying. Yeah.
You're stretching now. There's a timely reference.
Kieran,
Yeah, I know,
Kieran,
right?
an idiot.
So, when it comes to reading, I've been reading Warhammer 40K books. Great story time for your kid, by the way, if your kid likes gore. But I do hear that tomorrow your kid is coming out of a cast. Congratulations to him.
Thank you. Thank you so
I'm
much. It means a
very-
lot. I
I'm-
appreciate it.
Very happy that he is feeling better and everything. And that is what we want. We want happy children.
Yeah.
You are a wonderful father. And
He is, but Rob, maybe you say you should stop your kid watching those old Evil Knievel videos.
I'm more of a Super Dave fan when it comes to stuntmen. I don't know if you guys know
Well,
Super Dave Osborne.
You've
No,
seen
no,
what was
truth,
it,
you were doing something dumb, and that's why he was in the cast.
Kentucky Fried Movie.
No,
it's
actually,
been forever, but
Rob had nothing to do with this. The
right.
kid
I
was
was at
playing on the kid was playing on the couch.
Now, is that how his wife sees it?
oh, she's in my
Obviously
chat right now, and if she's honest, I was not within 10 miles of my son. Now she might say it's my fault for not being there, but I was at work, so I'm innocent.
Well, Rob, look, I definitely see a difference. The 10 pounds that you lost is a great start, and I have vowed to continue my journey, and I hope you do as well.
Yep.
Health is a good thing, and ladies and gentlemen, America is fat and obese, and if you want any proof of that, just look at myself and the man down below me. We are a little round. It's not the shape you want to be. So go out, touch some grass here and
Hold
there.
on, are you saying
drink
you're
water.
that little Korean kid from Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom? Oh no, that was Short Round.
That was short round. Yeah,
Mr. Jones. Yeah.
He is short.
I'm
And he's
5'11".
definitely round.
I
Pretty sure
doubt they
Rob's
could
shorter
make
than
That's the
that
same height
character
as me.
today.
What did I say?
Well, that's the same height as me. Yeah, so I'm not arguing with you because
Am
you're
I the tallest person here?
you're
Yes.
unnaturally tall.
You are. You are.
Bunch of midgets.
I'm shorty. I'm 5'7.5", so
Good.
a
God,
little short man. Yeah.
But
Kieran
he's
is-
still taller than Destiny.
Kieran is so tall.
Destiny's a
Kieran
legal
is so tall. He's frightened of guys called Jack.
That Demon Hobbit, I believe, is actually taller than Destiny. He's a Hobbit.
I am. I'm 6'1", Ocean.
Demon
Ah.
Hobbit is so small he trips over Ebola virus.
See now,
Yeah, and,
this is what I should have been doing. He won't debate me, but I guess if I was making fun of his height, maybe then he'd have me on. You know, drama stream will work
Well,
for him. No politics though.
Yeah. He's all about the drama. But let's get on to the national drama. Look, we're under 20 days until the election.
Zero Gold, that's because they're men. Men can't be part of the fat acceptance group movement because it's only for women.
And look, no one likes moobs. Man boobs are not something that is enjoyable.
Especially when they're on a woman.
Body positivity is bullshit. You should feel bad about yourself and go out and work out. Longer life.
Yeah.
How do you spite the left? Outlive them. All righty, let's.
and outbreed them, which we'll be getting to.
Yeah.
Demon Hobbit saying, hey, they make fun of me being 5'7" all the time. I just like, yeah, you're missing the decimal point in front of the 5 there, Hobbit.
All righty. Let's get into it. Stacey Abrams came out and said, look, if you'd like to fight inflation, it's very simple. Abort your children.
Damn
Well,
you.
she didn't say that exactly.
There it is. Sorry, I had it all up. I had it all up and in order, and then it got out of order.
Oh, you got to love that.
Here comes Dom DeLuise clip. Here we go.
I can look those up.
Got to share
Wow.
that. Share the audio,
the
brother.
audio is brilliant.
I think President Obama is absolutely right, and it's what we're seeing on the
No, you're good.
for governor of Georgia, Stacey Abrams. It's great to have you back on the show. Curious.
That gap tooth smile, dude.
Yeah, it's the same as my brother, JJ.
Dynamite.
I find it endearing.
At your biggest take. Race is going right now, and if you'd like to chime in on President Obama's comments.
I think President Obama is absolutely right, and it's what we're seeing on the ground. Right now, we are walking away so often from the real issues that people care about. Abortion is an economic issue. It's been reduced to this idea of a culture war, but for women in Georgia, this is very much a question of whether they're going to end up in poverty in the next 5 years, because women who are forced to carry
Did she buy her
unwanted
teeth at the
pregnancies
Gap store?
end up in poverty.
Oh, fall into the gap. Okay.
I mean, there's a gap in between every fucking tooth in her mouth.
You know, that's actually a sign of poor
It's
nutrition.
a sign
in
of
life.
inbreeding.
Probably
I
not true.
abstain. I'm not claiming that Stacey. I don't know. I find the gap. You know, like Michael Strahan has a gap. I always found it endearing. But
Well,
I don't
and it's
know.
like
She's got
like
more
Lawrence
problems
Fishburne.
than the. What's that? Does
Lawrence Fishburne has the gap.
Oh.
Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. By the way, we're going to listen to this British guy yell about people's teeth? Come on!
There we go.
Now, I have actually seen a picture of Batman smiling, and he cannot eat corn on the cob through a picket fence. It is confirmed he has real teeth. They're all the way across and everything.
Pretty sure they're actually in better shape than yours, Sparky.
Yes, they
Well,
are.
they used to be.
I got a little compacted on the
Right,
bottom.
depression kills teeth.
Yeah, what do you think? Is this the new economic path going forward? I was just talking about this earlier. I find it ironic that the same people that tell you need mass amounts of illegal immigration because of the declining birth rate now say the way to solve the economy is to have more abortions. I don't see the contradiction.
I'm sorry, Rob, but just Sparky highlighted what Zugol's just said, and it caught me off guard.
I highlighted
Yeah.
that.
Okay, fair enough. Kieran highlighted it. It caught me off guard. I mean,
Good
Zugol
job
said some-
there, Zio.
Yeah, well done.
Well done.
Who are you? What you done with the real Zugol?
All right. But no, that's why the title at the beginning of this was abort the poor, like, because she's really just like, if you can't afford to have a baby, then abort it.
Look, and I'll tell you this as a father, Rob, you could probably back me up here. You're never fully prepared for a child, and you'll never be financially stable enough because you always want better for your children. So this is a ridiculous premise to begin with.
There's also fashion and peer pressure for that the child goes through that affects your financial status with a child.
Well, if your financial status isn't challenged a little bit with a child, then you're not raising that child to the best of your ability. That's really what it comes down to. Look, my son, I gave up as much as I could for him to make sure that he had better opportunities than I had. And he's turned out to be a good young man. So,
Which
Well,
branch
here's-
of the service are you talking about, Johnny?
In all seriousness, here's the problem with this
Space
debate,
Force.
right? All the issues around this debate, it comes down to one thing, and this is what the left wants to conveniently forget. The entire debate is it a life? That's it. That's the entire debate, right? Is this a human life? And it doesn't matter. All of these other periphery arguments only shows how monstrous they are. I will listen to someone say, I don't believe it's a human life until 15 weeks. I don't believe it's a human life until nervous system development. These are debates that I think are within the realm of acceptability. What I cannot accept is someone saying, well, you need to kill this life because if you don't, it'll harm you financially. That is not a persuasive or a moral argument.
These are also the people who want to extend abortion to at least a month after birth.
Right. That's well. Even if you just the Democrat default position by Democrats right now, and I argue with people on this all the time, is there should be no law. It should totally be between the woman. This is basically what Biden's team said. This is what people running for senator said. It should be between the woman and her doctor, which implies if the woman and her doctor both say, we want an abortion the day before the delivery date, they should be allowed to have it. The government says, that's fine, whatever. The problem is, even if the Democrats initially had hope that overturning Roe v. Wade was unpopular because I think of a bunch of propaganda put through our media, the problem is their position, once people figure out what their position is less likable. If my guess is that on average, the plurality of Americans want some form of abortion up to a certain point, like 15 weeks or less than that, right? But they do think there should be some option. Now, you might disagree with that. If your life begins at conception, you're like, no, that's unacceptable. So they might not like your position. But you know what position they hate even more? 9-month abortions. They hate that. And the Democrats can't get away from it. And so that's why when you see, like, Pierre, the press secretary, asked over and over about this, well, what
you
Peter
mean
Doocy
Sideshow
keeps
Bob?
asking. Yeah, right. Peter Doocy keeps asking her, what's Biden's position? What's Biden's position? Why don't you talk specifics? And she won't say it. Because they know if they had to be honest about what their position is, that it's indefensible. It is monstrous. And to me, there's only two arguments that the left make that I utterly cannot even like contemplate having a meal with them. And that is the sexualization of children and talking about these abortions into the third trimester. It is monstrous. It is unforgivable. And, you know, it's funny. when you hear people in the black community, like them or hate them, what Kanye's out there saying, when they say things about one of the worst impacts to the black community is abortions in the black community, they're right. That's absolutely true. And now we have Stacey Abrams, supposedly a champion of black civil rights, out there saying, this is unfair. We need black people to abort more of their babies so that they could have financial success. It's despicable. It really is a despicable comment.
I kind of disagree with one thing you said there. One point you made there. Well, not one point you made as one of your points, but one of the things you said, that it's a decision that should be made between the mother and her doctor. No. The mother, yes. But it should be the mother and the father of the child. The doctor's input should only be advisory.
The doctor has to agree to the procedure. But yeah.
I don't believe that the decision should be taken entirely out of the hands of the biological father.
It's pretty widely known on this channel, I'm an abolitionist. If I had it my way, look, Oklahoma has the best law, in my opinion. Abortions are allowed up to zero minutes of pregnancy, with the exception of rape and detrimental health to the mother.
What about morning after pills, Sparky?
Morning after pills, according to the legislation, is not considered abortion because the egg is not fertilized and implanted. So that's where I actually look at what is the spark of life. It's implantation, because now this is a viable fetus.
People need to actually start focusing in on the morning after pill, because the morning after pill is a proven effective form of contraception. Is it always 100%? No form of contraception is 100%, but it is a proven. Okay, that's not contraception. That's just something else.
Yeah, the best form of contraception is convents.
Demon, shut up. But the morning after pill, people need to actually, people on our side of the debate need to start bringing that up more often, because we hyper focus on abortion. No, implantation and conception. We need to remember, some people aren't nearly so excited to have a baby. And so, yes, the morning after pill is a thing, and we should encourage people that don't want to have a baby to use contraception. Now, obviously, there are some among us who would say, no, you should abstain if you're worried about pregnancy. But that is not the world we live in right now. It will take a lot of sociological change to get us back to that point.
For me,
an interesting guy called Larry Niven. He wrote a lot of science fiction, right? He wrote this timeline, I suppose you could call it. But one of the things that ran through a lot of the early work was people took a voluntary form of sterilization, entirely reversible, until they could afford a parental license. So they had to be licensed to become a parent.
Well, and it's not so far-fetched. I mean, there are 1/3 of Democrats polled, I believe in a YouGov poll about 5-6 months ago, said that people that had not been vaccinated should not be allowed to have children in their home. This is something that you can see as we get more and more authoritarian government, where you already see now they're suggesting taking children out of the homes of families that don't use the proper terminology of gender. So the idea that the government has to approve you being a parenthood, it's not that far-fetched. And it has to do, the family unit is one of the unions, right? You have to understand, these establishment globalist types, right? They understand that the biggest impediment to them is sort of the middle class, the working class in sort of first world countries, particularly places like the United States. And institutions that they're afraid of are institutions like religious institutions and the family, because these are institutions that you default see as more important than your politician. And so they want nothing to be more important than them. So the Faustian bargain they'll give you is, we'll give you bread, we'll give you circuses, as long as you worship us. That's why the lockdowns, one of the first things they did was lock down churches in many states. That's why Black Lives Matter talked about attacking the nuclear family. This is what it's all about. And so it's not far-fetched to say that, well, you could only have these approved families,
They're trying to destroy the family as far as I can see. And they did that successfully in Russia. They got rid of families. And it was an absolute fucking disaster.
Well, they already have.
The children who grew up were monsters. Because
there was a
they didn't have
Democrat.
parents.
There was a Democrat in the 60s named Patrick Moynihan, I think. Moynihan was his last name. And he commissioned a report called the Moynihan Report. And it looked at just black Americans. But make no mistake, these facts are true of all Americans. And it said that it was a national tragedy that I think 1/4 of black children were born out of wedlock in the 60s. Now that number's over 75%. For white Americans, the number's over 60%. So it's not just a unique to one race or one culture. This is true.
No,
most marriages end in divorce now, right? So this institution that used to be the most serious institution that we had as a country, which was the nuclear family. You looked after your wife, she looked after you, you procreated, you had children, they were happy. Now you were responsible. We had one parent that understood it was important usually to stay at home with the kids, another parent that provided and worked. That's been full-fledged attack. How's that working out? How's that look? And we can see that those numbers, like being born into a 2-parent household, graduating high school, these sort of things are some of the biggest predictors of whether or not you'll ever be incarcerated, if you'll ever live in poverty, if you'll ever inflict self-harm. The data's out there. We know all of this.
Rob,
and yet they attack these institutions.
Rob, look at what happens. I'm going to focus on boys here because I don't know about what it does to girls. But what it does to boys who are raised without a father figure. They go either one of two ways. They either become extremely violent criminals or they become extremely effeminate girly boys.
And it's not serious. A guarantee thing, obviously.
There's no in between.
Yeah.
Some people could work out of it, right? That's right. Listen, people like me get a bad rap, right? Because I criticize Black Lives Matter. I was called a racist because I didn't want a bunch of white people.
Don't you mean buy large mansions?
Yeah, right. I was considered racist because I was advocating against a lot of white people going into black neighborhoods and burning them down because they're pissed about George Floyd. I said, maybe me, the guy who's against white people going into black, if you really feel strongly about it, I think you should not engage in property destruction no matter what. But if you did feel strongly about it, why are you going to the black neighborhoods that you're saying that the police are screwing over? Why are you burning their shit down? But when we looked, right, when we looked at sort of that sort of thing of how they were attacking them, it was mum was the word. And the truth is, right, like I've always said that some of the Americans that I think are the ones that I respect the most are people that grew up in like single mother families in the inner city that had almost no chance, and they got out of there through their own
part of the
gumption, and we lose sight of that, right? But you're right, on general, what chance do you have? Like, your chances are so diminished if you grow up in a single parent family, and sometimes it's inevitable. Some people pass away, or sometimes relationships don't work out, but we should be trying to maximize that. And instead, it seems that both as a government and as a culture, we're doing everything we can to ensure that marriages fall apart, that the parents aren't important, that, you be raised by the government, by the schools, parents. And this was by the way, if you're concerned about winning elections, everybody said Glenn Youngkin was making a big mistake, right? When he was talking about these issues. Who was his opponent? I forget his name now. There in Virginia. Basically, the turning point of that, Ralph not Northam.
Yeah, Northam.
No, it wasn't Northam. He was
retired.
Out the door. He was heading out.
Yeah. I'll think of his name in a minute. But the turning point of that race was when that guy came out and was basically like, parents shouldn't be involved in education. Even Democrat parents, by and large, are like, whoa, and it was a bridge too far. And that's an issue that Republicans should be pushing nationally, both with the sort of LGBT stuff in schools and the critical race theory and stuff like that. That should be a bridge too far, even for sensible Democrats, when you're talking about sort of telling your children they're evil or wrong based on the way they were born. That's too much.
So what would be
it was Terry McAuliffe.
That's it.
Terry McAuliffe.
Good
call. So here's a question to you, Robin. With the decline of the nuclear family in America, this is a cultural thing that we've been seeing happening over decades. I personally blame no-fault divorce. What are your thoughts on this? What is breaking down the family structure itself?
No-fault divorce.
Look, no
Yes,
fault
it-
divorce has been
no,
a huge thing here in
Sparky,
America in
Sparky,
the past 20, 30
Sparky.
years.
Yes, it was, because before no fault divorce, women were getting a huge package when they had a divorce, because
Usually in
seriously,
the name of Tyrone, but that was
it
wrong.
was called alimony. It meant she gets all his money.
Yeah. You just said huge package, and I was thinking of Tyrone.
I didn't
but
say
yeah.
huge package.
Well, but here's the thing: in no fault divorce, you don't need to have a reason. You can just divorce and
Yeah.
still get alimony.
Sure.
That's
And,
even worse.
and that's a problem.
At least it used to be that you had to have a compelling reason. He beats me. Here's the proof.
Yep.
They've been unfaithful. Here's the proof. Those were compelling reasons for divorce. Now there's a lot of states where you don't have to have a reason. You can just go get divorced.
I got a no fault divorce. My divorce with my first wife was a no fault divorce. Even though she was pregnant with another man's child, it was easier for us to go that route than it was to just charge the adultery and move that
It's
way.
a pity you never met a princess, Spotty, because if you've been kissed by a princess, you'd be a handsome prince by now.
He's
It
not.
take
Let
a
me get
lot
those
of.
glasses again. I mean, for me, here's the thing. Like, I haven't thought about this strongly. Like, I want to maximize freedom. I'm different than some, like, so I have a libertarian bent to me. I don't consider myself a libertarian, but I do think that what makes this country great is the foundation on the idea of the individual and maximizing liberty. So I always find it a skeptical position to say, well, the government should say that you are forced to stay into some situation you don't want unless you could prove otherwise. So for me, if two people amicably decide we want a divorce and we're not really declaring fault in it, I don't think that I would blame that law as much. For me, I think that politics is downstream of culture. And I think that the reason that we see isn't because the option for no fault divorce is there, as much as culturally we have pushed sort of cultural issues that have made the relationships fall apart in the first place. For example, no fault divorce could be legal. And if marriages were happy and healthy, then people wouldn't take that option. Right. So for me, the underlying reason why are so many people, unhappy? And there's a lot of reasons. There really is. When you look, I'm all for the idea that although gender stereotypes exist and are probably a good thing in many ways, absolutely women should have the right to go out in the workforce if they choose. Men should have the right to stay at home if they choose. I don't think that we should set up legally like that. I think culturally, the reason that those stereotypes existed made sense because that traditionally was a good way to raise a family. And the big joke is, as we kind of pushed for this new wave of feminism telling women, it's not cool to be at home, go out and work. All that happened was now both parents have to work to survive, and women have gotten less and less happy. All the studies show it. And I think that a lot of that might have to do with divorce, right? Where we've changed what's expected. Yeah. We've changed what's expected of a marriage, right? And now, it's not the same relationship that it used to be where it was focused on this family. And we've culturally pushed for promiscuous sexual relationships and things like that. Like those are things to advocate for. So there's a lot that goes into this. I'm not someone who's going to sit here and lecture people morally and say, read your Bible, do this. Other people do that far better than me. I'm more private with my faith, although I consider myself a Christian. But, I think that the greatest joy I've ever had in my life is meeting my wife and getting married and having a kid. Nothing else remotely compares. Yeah, it's a lot of work, but it is so more fulfilling as me as a person than any other thing I've done. And I just think that if we could show that as a culture, I waited, I was 30 when I got married. I think so many people feel rushed to get into different types of relationships or hesitant to marry or hesitant to have kids. And it's a huge mistake. But, Stacey Abrams is saying, well, hey, if you do get knocked, go have sex with promiscuous partners. And if you get knocked up, you remember during the whole COVID thing where they were telling you, you can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do this. You could go out to orgies, though. Orgies still can't go to church, but you can go to the orgy. And, with the whole monkeypox thing, it was like, we had to shut down people from visiting their family because of COVID, right? But monkeypox that was predominantly being shared at gay orgies, well, it would be a step too far to suggest the gay orgy stuff. I agree. You shouldn't be able to legally stop the gay orgy. I agree with that.
Since monkeypox started out, there's been a hell of a drop in bestiality.
Is that what it is? Damn. How come the diseases all sound fun? Like coronavirus? Like, I'll drink a Corona. Monkeys are fun, right?
You know what you're on about the whole gender stereotypes thing. in
Real quick,
Sweden.
Real quick. Go read Breitbart, because Breitbart is the one who originally coined the phrase "politics is downstream from culture." That's why
Andrew
you should
did it.
go read Breitbart.
Andrew Breitbart. Yeah.
The whole, I think it's Sweden, right? They really made concerted efforts to alter their society so that men and women could have as much choice as each other in whatever profession they chose, right? They encouraged it. And you know what happened? Men and women were choosing the traditional gendered roles a lot more than any other country.
Yeah, Jordan Peterson talks about this a lot. So sociologists studied, right? And in the Scandinavian countries, they tried their best with children to take out what was perceived as cultural pushes into traditional gender stereotypes. So they did everything they could as children in schools and things like that to say, oh, we're going to encourage children to play, of all genders, to play with trucks and to play with Barbies, et cetera, et cetera. And we're going to make sure girls know they could be firefighters and make sure boys know they could be nurses, et cetera, et cetera. So they tried to eliminate every cultural stumbling block or perceived cultural stumbling block, because the perception was, the idea was, oh, we'll see women in STEM fields more. We'll see more women firefighters. We'll see more women engineers. The problem's not that, you know, women are less interested in that. It's that there are these cultural stumbling blocks. And what happened was the exact opposite. As you maximized choice, right, and got culture out of it, it tended that, and Jordan Peterson, go and listen to Jordan Peterson. He talks about it better than me. But he says the fundamental difference between boys and girls are that boys are interested in things and girls are interested in people. And so when you look at that, it is true that most of us, when you look at sort of these scales of like sort of the big five, like I forget what the word he uses for it, but the sociologists lose like your temperament and things like that. It is true we're more alike than dissimilar, but at the extremes, like to be an engineer, you have to be in the top 5% of people most interested in things. And at those extremes, it's predominantly men. And
it's like,
you know,
Jeremy Clarkson, right? This was going back to the 80s. He got panned for saying that men are better drivers than women. So he was right. I forget which paper he was writing for at the time, but he put in he answered his critics, and he said, yes, men are better drivers than women, and there's a reason for that. He said, when men are little boys, they're interested in cars, interested in driving, interested in how cars work, and most boys will pester their dad, and they will have a little go behind the wheel, more so as they get older. I mean, we've all done it. So when they're old enough to learn how to get a driving license and that, boys are quite a bit ahead, and they will get their driving license generally quicker than girls do. And girls only become interested in cars when they can get a driving license, and that's why boys are better drivers than girls. And it's a logical process.
Yeah, and that's just on it. That doesn't mean that people can't buck the trend. Obviously, there could be women that are far better drivers than me. There could be women that are better fighters than me, et cetera, et cetera. But these are just generalities. But we only seem to have problems with these generalities when it affects certain groups. And this has to do with what I call cultural Marxism, right? Where sort of the establishment understands that by setting things up as oppressor versus oppressed, and you could insert any group. You could do it based on gender. You could do it based on sex. You could do it based on sexual orientation, do it based on race, et cetera, et cetera. Like by setting up one group's the oppressor and the other's oppressed. So what you see is there's not a big push to say, well, geez, why are most custodians men? Why are most sewage workers men? They don't give a shit about that. Or why are most nurses women? Right? The things that women are traditionally better at, right? Things that have to do with language and things like that. There's no drive in universities to say, wait a minute, we need more, why is it that women outnumber men? And you actually see this bearing out. I have two examples. One, in the UK, they actually did a study that showed the group that is now failing the most racially in the UK is white boys. White boys. Yep. And there's all these commissions for advocating for immigrants or refugees or people of color or women. But white boys are now the lowest performing group educationally, and they are totally ignored. Not only are they ignored, but to even bring up the problem gets accusations of racism and bigotry. And so it's a problem that you can't even talk about. And in the United States, right, like we keep hearing about how, it's misogynistic. The numbers are quite clear when it comes to education, higher ed. women are dominating men. Just absolutely dominating when it comes to the higher, like when it comes to bachelor degrees and things like that. Most university I went to is like 2-to-1 girls to boys. And no one talks about it, right? Men keep performing worse and worse in education, and no one really cares.
That's because education, since the late 70s, I saw it start when I was at school. When I first started what you would call senior high school, I think, comprehensive school from the age of 11 to 16, right? The first 3 years of the 5 years I was there, we had a morning break, an hour for dinner, and then an afternoon break, right? And finished school about 3:45. Then they got rid of the morning break and the afternoon break. So you went in 9 o'clock, lessons until lunchtime, lessons until going home time. Now, those breaks, that 15 minutes out and then back in, that's great for boys, right? It's not too good for girls, but it's great for boys. But then the entire morning, there's a full block of lessons, no break in between, and a full block of lessons in the afternoon, no break in between. That's great for girls, not so good for boys, and they feminized it more and more as time's progressed. The education system is now almost totally geared towards girls.
Well, especially in younger, and again, there are horrible impacts to this that are outside of just sort of, people might be saying, well, these people are just a bunch of grousers, blah, 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 blah. Like, here's something that happened. Because we've set girls as the standard in, say, pre-K and kindergarten, right? Young boys tend to be rambunctious. And so when we standardize, well, the girl is the model, it used to be we looked at rambunctious boys playing rough and things like that and said, hey, you got to learn to socialize. Don't really do that. Now we put them on Ritalin or Adderall.
Yep.
We say there's something medically wrong with you. And there's nothing medically wrong. And this over-prescribing of medication like that, unfortunately, the evidence shows that this leads to more likelihood to abuse prescription and non-prescription drugs later in life. And so there's this constant attempt to take out what we consider traditional masculinity. And the truth of masculinity is that it could be both a good thing and a bad thing, just like femininity could be both a good thing and a bad thing. And so the idea that we're just trying to totally eliminate masculinity and we're like, that'll solve all the world's problems, it's absolute nonsense. Masculinity is a very important thing. And you see the effects of this day in and day out. The rest of the world's not going to go along with this. There are cultures that won't go along with this. And so, you could see the films of, you'll see a belligerent guy punch a woman in the face. Someone's recording it at Walmart or something. And everybody just stands back. And it's just like, whatever. Like, I ain't getting involved. And you can't blame people, because if you get involved, you might get stabbed or you might get arrested. Who the hell knows? But I'm just saying, it's just a very visceral reaction to show sort of like when you take masculinity out, there are obviously problems that are going to occur. And it's very troubling that, that we've demonized, young boys and things to that level.
They've taken on board the feminist model that boys and by extension men are genetically damaged girls.
I had this class, right? And in college, in my undergrad, I had this class. And it was funny because I was debating feminism at a high level in the debate community. I'm not claiming I knew a lot about feminism, but I'm telling you, I was one of the higher debater teams in the country in policy debate. And there are no divisions. So you're debating the Naval Academy and Harvard and Ivy League schools. And there were teams that were exclusively feminist. And so I heard the way they talked. Not claiming that I understood it all, but I heard them. And I took this class at my little school, this feminism class, because I'm like, wow, ace this. I already have to research all this for debate. And it was incredible, the things that this professor would say. This lady, first off, she had us read the book, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, which every, the third wave feminists would decry. They would be like, no, this is horrible.
No, I think it's better to title that book, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From the Ninth Pit of Hell.
But
Damn.
We had this, I remember this one day we went in and she's like saying, research has found that children that are raised by a feminine parent do much better than children that are raised by a masculine parent. And I was like, so you're saying children that are raised with women do better than children that are raised with men? She says, no, that's not what I'm saying. I was like, well, can you define what a feminine parent is? And she was like, nurturing. Oh, go ahead.
That's because you're a nerd, Zio. We make fun of nerds.
Nerds.
She said, I said, can you define a feminine parent? She said, nurturing and hugging and, providing for food and nourishment and love and reading to your child and hugging
That's what
your
your
child.
father does.
And I said, well, what's a masculine parent? And she said, physical abuse to the child, neglect of the child, refusing to feed the child, not changing the child's diaper. This is what my professor said. And I was like, your big claim here is children that are raised good are good and children that are raised bad do bad. And you just arbitrarily use the word masculine and feminine. But you say that doesn't mean men and women. But then the next topic we're talking about is divorce and custody of children and a defense of why women traditionally get the children more than the men. And she's like, well, we just said that children that are raised in a feminine environment. But I was like, no. You said that feminine and masculine does not mean man and woman. And it's interesting. They control the language like that, right? They substitute these phrases because they know they can't, right? So like they've basically defined the word as feminine and masculine in like 3 different ways in a 5-minute period to justify why everything has to be equal. You need 50% women as firefighters and 50% men, but not custody battles, not them. It's okay for them to go to women, and they have to use this unique trick with language, right? The reality is there are masculine and feminine characteristics that are both necessary to raising children. And the idea of feeding your child and not beating your child being a feminine value is nonsense. That's absolute nonsense.
It's a human quality.
Right.
There was one on the BBC where they were having this discussion, and it was an all-woman panel, and apparently boys are raised to hate women. But who raises boys? I mean, let's take a traditional household. Traditional household. Your father's at work most of the time. Your mother's there. You go to school. Most of your teachers are women. So most of your childhood will be spent being raised by women. So if anybody's raising children, boys to hate women, it's women.
But it's all stereotype anyways, right? Like the idea is that, to me, the thing that's most evident that we're teaching our children is self-loathing, right?
Yeah.
That's what sort of this social emotional learning SEL is about, right? It's about breaking down children. Like, so if you're in these groups that are considered oppressors, so if you're wealthy, you're a kindergartner and your family's wealthy, or you're white, or you're Christian, or you're biological male, etc., you're basically told that by nature of those immutable characteristics that you're bad, that those are things to apologize for, to be ashamed for. And then, so they break you down, and then they give you the alternative. But you can embrace this culture. You can embrace the LGBT culture.
That's going to, again, that's going to produce either one of 2 results. You're either going to get the kids that are broken down and will do anything to gain acceptance, or that you're going to get the kids that are going to go, fine, if I'm a monster, then I will be a monster.
Well, yeah, and I guess the third example is you go along to get along until you're old enough to be able to do things yourself. I mean, this is sort of what they called in polling, like the Trump effect, where pollsters, people knew that you're socially ostracized if you admit that you're a supporter of Trump. So when the pollsters called, they just said, yeah, I'd never vote for Trump. And then they did, right? This is what happens on campuses. I saw it all the time. You're not going to argue with your professor that's super woke, right? I took class, like, I'll give you an example. I took this, it was a geology class, right? And I had this professor, I won't mention his name, but he was a character. He's a big socialist, just a crazy character. And I remember one day in this class, he was talking about how do we solve the climate change crisis? And the first person's like, wind power, that's the way to do it, wind power, and blah, 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 blah. And the next person's like, geothermal, that's what we need, geothermal. And so I just sat there for a while. And then finally I raised my hand. I was like, nah, man, the problem you all have is the consumption mindset. The Earth's not here to provide for us. We're here to provide for the Earth. A+, baby. Professor loved it, right? I know how to talk like these assholes, right? Like it's nonsense. What I just said was abject bullshit nonsense, but that's what he wanted to hear, right? And so am I going home telling everyone like, hey man, it's time to live in drum circles and like we need to start providing for the Earth? No, I'm just saying what I need to say to get the A, to get my stupid ass degree so I could go out and make money and get a job. And this happens all over the place. And so I actually see a lot of hope.
I find a lot of these people who believe all that shite, they're also the same people who believe that the pyramids are actually ancient power plants, that there was a pre-human civilization.
They're docking stations.
Yeah, they're docking stations.
No,
Alex Jones has already proved that.
No, that there was only one of them where was a docking station. That was for Alex Jones, and he broke it.
Well, what can you do? The aliens, bro. You know, like, I would love to see a Venn diagram of the people that believe that shit that also think Trump's a Russian asset and, you know, all that. It's always the same characters, right? They'll call you a conspiracy theorist. You know, it's really, and you know, you look at this stuff, you know, I'm hopeful, you know, as a conservative. I'm a populist more than I'm conservative, but I am conservative. You know, one of the things I've told Republican people as high as the state level, even people involved in Trump's campaign, I was offered a job through Trump's campaign, just locally, to run my county. But one of the things I told them, the message to young people should be this. Do you like having fun? Have you ever said something that you regret? Do you like joking around? Because those other people will ruin you 30 years down the road. If you run afoul of them once, if you find yourself to be in a position of prominence and you say, you know what, maybe I'm against this sort of woke stuff in this particular instance, they'll find a tweet you sent when you were 12 years old and they will fucking bury you, right? They will, right? They're humorless. They are these communist, humorless, just sacks of shit that sit around morose and angry and want to attack everyone else because they don't have any happiness in their life. That's why they want to go after even comedians that are left-wing, like Dave Chappelle. Yep. That's what it's about, right? And so we should be reaching out to young people saying, like, look, you don't have to agree with everything we say, but at least we believe in having fun. We're not going to ruin your life because you told a joke that we didn't agree with. We'll just laugh it off and be like, okay, we didn't like that.
Do you know?
That's how we should reach out to people.
Talking about angry comedians, you know what would be funny? We find a big feminist rally, right? And we grab a hold of Joe Pesci, right? Pump him full of LSD and just let him loose.
What do you mean funny?
Or even better,
funny,
angel dust. Even better, angel dust. Joe Pesci on angel dust.
I don't know how much damage he could do.
That would probably kill him.
Yeah, I mean, although
how many is he going to take out beforehand? Calculated dose, you know.
Look, Rob, you were talking about maximizing freedom. I know the best way to do that, especially when it comes to things like marriage, get government out of it.
Yeah.
Do you know what the biggest
there you go.
to freedom is? The greatest threat to freedom?
What? Go ahead.
Kieran?
Freedom.
Well, I
I'm being
understand.
serious.
I understand sort of the logic to it. You know, to me, I think one of the things I think of when I see discussions, it's becoming blatant now, right? So I'm going to try to make this as quick as possible. One of the things I said when Trump won in 2016, I said the reason I'm voting for him is to expose how corrupt our systems are, which he did. Not because he was playing 4D chess, but just by nature of being an outsider, right? But then the problem was he never did anything about it. He put all these terrible people around him that buried him. No one that was involved in the corruption ever faced any consequences. And I said, in a way, that could be worse because the corruption we saw for a long time was sort of the boiling frog theory, right? Where it was just slowly ramping up. Now it's just blatantly in your face. And so one of the sorts of attacks on freedoms and censorship that I saw was self-censorship, right? Because culturally, they made you say, oh, there are certain things I can't say. And if you read anything about Mao's China, they talk about this a lot. You had to read these prayers out of these little red books, right? And it would be stuff like, Mao is the greatest man that ever existed, blah, blah, blah. And at a certain point in the day, a bell would ring.
I was born in 64. I've heard about Chairman Mao's little red book.
Yeah, so there would be a bell and everyone would have to read these prayers at the same time. Mm-hmm. And after Mao died, they talked to people that lived through it. And everyone was like, I thought it was ridiculous, but I assumed everyone else believed it. So I wasn't going to speak up. And that's sort of what's happening in the United States. There are so many things that we all know is just abject bullshit. Like there are biological differences between men and women. Everyone knows it. Even the left, even the trans activists, they all know it. But we can't say it. We can't say it because we self-censor because we're your ass. There's the man himself, so there's tons of things that you could say like that you just don't say. Now sometimes you don't say something that's true out of politeness. That's one thing. But now we're self-censoring. However, now it's gone even further. Now they're just straight up telling you, we need a ministry of truth. We need to censor people that disagree with us. And
it's like
the more desperate they get.
My dad always said, you are only entitled to the rights that you're prepared to fight for.
That's true. Hey, man, you Brits, I bring you Brits up all the time, man. It's true. Like, we talk, Brits are very similar to the U.S. I mean, obviously there's some differences, but I think it's as close as any two countries. In Britain, they found out thousands of girls were gang raped and groomed over and over again by Muslim immigrants. This happened. And not only that, the local politicians and police knew about it. Not one of those police people or politicians have been held to account. And instead of, you would think, if that issue doesn't get people on the street freaking out because this happened to their children, what fucking issue will? They're more pissed about Tommy Robinson than they are the actual gang rapist and police that let him get away with it.
If it had come out when I was a kid, there would have been fucking riots. Seriously,
Not now.
There would have been riots. There would have been people with those things, that fire their lead projectiles.
So you have to ask yourself this. If that issue wasn't enough to get people fired up, you think not following through on Brexit will be? You think that silencing Alex Jones will be? You think banning people like me and Sparky off YouTube at times will be? No, of course not. If you're willing to accept the gang rape of children and say, oh, that's a shame, well, then what indignity are you willing to fight against? And that's sadly the problem. Now, I deplore political violence. I'm not advocating for any sort of political violence. But there are things we could do to show that we were unwilling to accept the direction that many of these things are going. And I'm somewhat hopeful. I see the pendulum swinging back culturally. But you're absolutely right. You only have rights that you're willing to stand up for. And if you say, that's why they want to get rid of the Second Amendment in this country. It's not that we need to use those weapons. It's that the fact that they exist prevent greater forms of tyranny.
It's not just that. I think part of the reason why we're getting weak in the West is the very thing we're using to talk to each other right now, computers. They distract us from the real world more and more.
Yeah.
And they're more and more pervasive. They're more and more pervasive in our lives. I mean, smartphones are getting more and more common and more important and more vital. We're going to come a time, won't be too long, where you won't be able to buy stuff, you won't be able to get a job, you won't be able to pay bills unless you've got a smartphone.
Yeah. Well, and you know,
it's already the case in China.
Yep.
And look how well they can track everything that a Chinese person does, literally.
Yeah, I mean, and you look, it's not so different. We're already seeing it. For example, we see private banks like Chase Bank. They didn't stop Jeffrey Epstein's accounts, but they're going to stop Kanye's, right? Or maybe that was JP Morgan. We see, places like GoFundMe, PayPal, and others, that the heinous shit they're doing. We saw in Canada, that they actually froze the bank accounts of people that just donated to the truckers. So it's coming, right? And the interesting thing is, okay.
I cancelled my PayPal account 5 years ago because they'd sign you up for things without telling you. You'd start getting these these withdrawals on your bank account from PayPal that you hadn't signed up for.
Right, and I mean when you look at these things, right, like. Look at the idea of free banking's one thing. Like, look at the idea of free speech. Now, that's blatantly in the Bill of Rights. The government should not make any law restricting your freedom of speech, etc. Right? So the way they get around it is, what we're now finding out is, okay, well, the government and the FBI and other agencies were just going to social media companies and saying, we want you to censor X, and we'll provide incentives to you if you do, and we'll punish you if you don't. And so then the social media companies censored the people and the arguments that they didn't want. And then the government's like, well, we didn't do it. It wasn't us, right? And that's sort of, and this is a problem that, okay.
How soon before they stop providing the incentives and just saying, if you don't do it, we'll punish you?
That's absolutely right. Right now it's carrot and stick, but eventually it'll just be stick. But the problem is, right, think of it logically, though. So you look at these companies, most of them are ran by people that are ideologically establishment people anyways, left-wing establishment people. But take that out of the equation. Let's just say that, Sparky's running Twitter. Let me ask you a question, Sparky. Like, you're running Twitter, right? And you just want to make money, say, hypothetically. And there's two parties in this country, and one party says, you will do whatever we say or we will crush your business. And the other party says, well, you're a private company. You can do whatever you want. Which side are you going to side with? You're obviously right.
Yep.
Well, you're going to go with the latter. You wouldn't, right? You would go with the former because you would say, "Well, I don't want to lose my business."
I would, but I'd be a terrible businessman.
Right.
That's just where it is.
I know what you're saying, though. Yeah.
That's why he was enlisted in the Air Force, not an officer.
Yeah,
that's
pretty
true.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And a Padre.
Mistakes were made. Hey.
I
We
can
were
see shit.
actually talking about it earlier. He's actually rooting for the Padres too. So
I am.
hey, we won
Well,
today.
actually, Rob, you don't know this, but Sparky actually went into orbit. There was him and a chimp, and they were both given sealed orders. And Sparky was telling us when they were in orbit, they were to open their instructions. And the chimp, when he opened his instructions, had to check the flight computer, check the navigation computer, check the fuel systems. Sparky opened up his instructions. It was feed the chimp every hour.
Needless to say,
Oh,
the chimp
man.
didn't make it back.
Oh, it kind of
So-
did.
Yeah, that's it.
Banks are private institutions because they are privately financed. Now they are backed by the government, which is kind of sketch, but most banks are privately financed at the end of the day. Now they are insured through the FDIC.
Up to $100,000 per account.
Yes, but they are privately financed institutions, and so yes, they can tell you to take your business elsewhere. It's a dumb decision on their parts, but a lot of these banks, like J.P. Morgan Chase, are very large banks, and so they can take that hit.
And Mina, we know who they're ran by. I just want to go ahead. I'm going to throw that little cracker out for you. Oi.
We get
Well,
karaoke
yes,
stream. I can tell with that.
Look, wow, Rob, we can tell that you stream on your own a lot. My man, the rap god himself. Great insight there. No, it's amazing. I'm loving it, but we got more stuff we got to cover. Especially the Biden administration is demanding that Arizona remove shipping
Real quick,
containers.
Real quick. They're giving shit to him because they feel entitled, and at the end of the day, he won that court case because he's a private owner.
Yes, and he's actually starting to countersue these people who are continuing to perform lawsuits on
now
him.
they're going after him for not making is either a gender reveal or a gender transition cake.
Yeah, I mean,
same baker.
yeah. The LGBT community has been targeting this guy because, look, he's unapologetic and he's willing to stand up for his beliefs, and God bless him for doing it.
Well, okay, so here's the thing.
I
Ocean.
forget which comedian it was, but
They're
I have one
allowed.
saying that the LGBT community is very much like the rest of society. Yeah, only like 10% of them are actually gay.
They're allowed to go after him because of the rather unfortunate laws in this country regarding the ability to sue.
Yes,
You-
civil
you
tort
can, and
needs
I
to be
quote,
reformed.
Sue a ham sandwich.
You can also prosecute a ham sandwich and indict one as well.
Yes.
Well, it's very like what people don't understand about the original case was that the activists went shopping, right? So they kept it like I hear this all the time. There is a pro-life pregnancy center in my little town, and I knew a girl that told me one time she faked a pregnancy and went there because she was hoping to hear like a bunch of religious stuff that she could be like, "How dare you?" And then I was like, "How'd that go for you?" And she's like, "Yeah, they're incredibly nice." Right. That's what they do, though. Like these activists, they'll go around. So they went to the first shop that's a Christian bakery. They're like, "Yeah, we'll do it. Then finally, they found one that was like, "No." Here's the thing that people need to understand. Maybe they would have an argument if the baker was like, "I refuse to serve you because you're gay." But that's not what happened. That's the way they spin it. What happened was he said, "I do not want to make this cake for a celebration that I consider immoral." If that gay person had came in and said, "I want a birthday cake for my cousin," he would have said, "Okay." He's not saying, "No, you're gay, so I won't make that cake." He's saying, "I won't make the cake for this." Like, similarly, if someone came in and said, "I am Muslim, will you make me a birthday cake?" He would say, "Yeah." If they came in and said, "I'm Muslim and want you to make a cake because, I'm becoming a member of ISIS," he would have the right to say, "No, I don't want to do that."
To America.
What is interesting about this, the targeting of this baker precisely just across the street, is a Muslim bakery, and
Right.
they have not. They went and asked them. They said no, and they refused to sue them.
Well,
because
I
it
got
goes
it.
against
It's
the
funny.
narrative.
It's funny you should bring this up because this is a timely story. Did you see the clips in Dearborn, Michigan? For those that don't know, there is a huge Muslim community in Dearborn, Michigan. So there are all these Muslim parents that are just apoplectic about the LGBT stuff being taught to their kids in schools. And the left doesn't know how to deal with this, right? It's one thing if me and Sparky get up at the town or at the school board meeting and say, this is outrageous. But all of a sudden you have all these Muslims. And it's very funny. It's very reminiscent. See, when you build your entire coalition on these sort of identity politics and this cultural Marxism, it's very fragile, right? And there come times when there are groups that clash. Like one of the famous examples I could think of was the Orlando nightclub shooting, right? So you had all these gay people that were shot in this nightclub, and basically they're like, well, fundamentalist Islam. And let me be clear, I have no problem with someone who's Muslim, right? There are Muslim people that are absolutely fantastic. Then there's fundamentalist Islam people that are not fantastic, right? I think that problem's way worse than fundamental Christians and stuff. But I'm not here to shit on anyone that's Muslim. That's not what I'm saying. But what the gay community was saying in Orlando was like, whoa, 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 where are the Democrats to speak up for us? And basically the Democrats were like, shh, shut your mouth. You have to stay. You got your rights. Now shut up and get in line, right? And you hear it with the feminists now with the trans movement. Shh. You're a Democrat. You can't speak up about this. Be quiet. Shh. Be quiet. And so what's going to happen, unfortunately, for any of our Muslim friends that are watching that actually care about family values and not getting your children sexualized, you're going to become persona non gratas, just like Hispanics are becoming persona non gratas because they're switching to the GOP. They'll hate you more than they ever hate any of us white guys. They'll hate you even more because you disprove their brainwashing. You disprove their entire thesis on life, that it's all about your immutable characteristics and you're pigeonholed and life is unfair and you're constantly oppressed. Once you start to break out of that box,
the feminist movement, this trans movement, it's all about money. Feminism is big business. Let's face it. Feminism was actually about what it says it's about. It would have packed up its bags and gone long ago because all of its aims have been met. But it's big business. This trans positivity thing. Transition therapy is a fucking massive fucking industry. It turnover is billions of fucking pounds.
Well, and it's a customer for life, right? Like,
yeah.
You know,
short,
it's once
however short that may be.
But here's the thing, right? It's this weird argument. I don't disagree with any of that. It certainly is big business. I find there's obviously more to it than that, though, right? Because there are people that aren't involved in this business that are also pushing.
I've got to caveat myself here because there are people who do need it. I will admit that. I mean, we know it. I mean, we all know people who are actual transgender, not transgenders, who do need it. But end of the day, it's being pushed on to people who aren't, especially young, impressionable people, because it's fucking a hugely lucrative business.
Well, I have to be careful what I say on this because I'm on Twitch. I'll just say this.
I am too.
Kate,
right.
Kate, see what Jack said here, Kate?
Yes.
So you got to be a little careful. I'll just say this. As an adult, you should have the right, as long as a doctor's being open with you about possible complications of surgeries, medications, you absolutely, as an adult, have every right. I will not treat a trans person like garbage because of their identity. I don't believe in that. I can't go much further than that because I'm on Twitch. But all of this stuff is completely unacceptable for children. Completely.
Yes.
End of story, period.
I will treat a trans person like garbage if they are garbage, but if they're not, I won't.
That's exactly it. And I choose, look, I get shit from my audience because I choose when I interact with a trans person to use the pronouns they ask. This doesn't mean that I'm making some statement about agreement or disagreement about their scientific beliefs or anything like that.
Respect for the individual.
It's just a respect for the individuals, number one. And then a less important reason is because I don't want to get banned from every platform. It's that.
And trans positive Rob was an amazing arc.
Tune in Pride Month. He'll be back, I'm sure. It's a draining month. That's all I'll say.
Wait, you know what they should do on Pride Month? Let the lions
Biden
bloody out.
administration, with Donald Trump being pulled away by losing the election, and of course the Biden administration taking over, certain projects have gone by the wayside, one of them being our border. It's amazing how we can spend billions of dollars on the protection of Ukraine's border, and yet no money goes over to our very own. Now, states like Texas,
sending Border Patrol agents to, what was it?
Ukraine to help train them how to.
No, it was Poland. They were sending
Yeah,
them
it's
to
Poland
to make sure that Ukrainians did not escape Ukraine.
Yes. But here's the deal. States like Arizona and Texas decided to take over the federal government's job and enforcing border security. Over in Arizona, they have resorted to putting shipping containers to plug these holes left by lack of funding for these construction projects that were previously funded. And now the Biden administration is demanding that states like Arizona remove these shipping containers because it is impeding our illegal immigration.
Well, no, it's impeding, according to the Biden administration, the construction of the wall, which they have begun doing again. They have accepted bids from multiple companies to build multiple sections of the wall. There's also the fact that they're citing treaty violations with Native American tribes because Arizona disregarded the Native American tribes and just put a bunch of shipping containers on the border in what is territorial land.
But the construction company could move those containers within 5 minutes.
Yeah, and see, that's my thing is like, look, Biden administration, as soon as they show up to do the construction, we'll move the containers. Until then, blow me.
And to be fair, the Native American tribes could move them their damn selves. Oh, wait. That would require them to do something, not drink.
The Native American tribes could actually use them for something while they're there.
Yeah.
They've got more uses than just shipping.
It's evident. Like we talk about all this stuff, and it's important to talk about it stuff. But the answer is obvious. The reason the border's not secure is because the people in charge don't want the border secure. That includes the Biden administration. That includes Republicans for years and years. Remember, Republicans were in private telling Donald Trump over and over again, immigration's a loser. Don't talk about it. That's not the issue. That's the one issue that Trump spoke most vehemently about and most passionately about, and he was right. Because the majority of people in this country, including Hispanics, want a secure border. And that's why Democrats are like, they're nonplussed. Like, how is it that Democrats are starting to vote GOP? Like, don't they buy the rhetoric? Don't they understand that the GOP wants to secure the border? Right. It's because we're not racist, right? It's the Democrats that are racist. They assume, oh, you look like you have brown or olive-colored skin, then you must be for open borders. No, many of them came here the right way. They don't want their communities inundated with people that are taking up a bunch of resources that came here illegally.
I think I need to go lie down. I've just had to agree with Mina.
Oh,
well,
man.
and that's a reason that a D+20 district in Texas went red in a special election, and now you have Mayra Flores.
Right, Hispanic.
Mayra Flores, who is Mexican born, emigrated here to America the right way, came up as she's the Democrat success story, except she's a GOP rep.
Right. It's like over here, Kieran. Do you know who hates the illegal immigrants the most in the UK?
Legal ones.
Yeah.
Yep. That's absolutely right. It's that way everywhere.
Legal immigrants.
Right.
It's like the Muslims in the UK, the ones who've been here since the 60s.
Oh, yeah.
They hate the new ones.
Well, and
because
the
they're
ones
westernized.
That the 60s,
and the ones that are coming over.
And they have assimilated.
Yeah.
And it's the
To
same.
a greater or lesser degree, yeah.
Hispanics in America. They are here. They have assimilated. They live here. They pay taxes here.
I know there's many Hispanics who live in the States. They've assimilated so much they can't even speak Spanish.
They're white supremacists. They've assimilated so much they're white supremacists, just as the Democrats, right? Like that's the absurd argument they're making now.
Remember Richie Valens, La Bamba?
Yeah.
He was either Hispanic or Latino, but he couldn't speak Spanish.
There's a lot of that. And what you see is, and look, I would still, if I had to say right now, I guess I want Trump in 2024 because hopefully he's learned his lesson, will be pissed off enough to go after the corruption. But DeSantis is ultimately more tactful and better equipped in the long term. So hopefully we get Trump 2024 and then DeSantis thereafter. But the move that DeSantis made, which was something that I've been... Oh, go ahead.
I want DeSantis VP 24.
That's not going to happen. They're too big egos. I don't think that he would be willing to do it. But
I think
we'll see.
DeSantis VP 24, and it gives him time and it gives him that national polish before he goes for 28.
And honestly, even though DeSantis may have an ego with him being in the military, he knows how to step aside and allow someone else to lead. He
proved that when Rubio decided that he was going to run for Senate again, because DeSantis was running for Senate, and when Rubio said, "No, I'm running for re-election," DeSantis went, "All right, cool, Godspeed, I'm stepping back."
It's a tough proposition.
He is willing to subsume his own personal desires for the good of the movement.
Maybe I don't see it happening, but I would certainly be excited for it. But his move, right, which something I talked about for a long time, which was, okay, if these are sanctuary cities and sanctuary states, send the illegals there. This is a win-win for everyone, right? The lefties believe that DeSantis and Florida are a bunch of 10-tooth racists, right, that will treat these noble, great immigrants like shit. They believe these immigrants are better than average Americans. They're just the best people. They commit less crime. They're hard workers. And they believe that there are sanctuary cities that would really care for these people. Great. Win-win-win, right? Send them to the sanctuary cities. Great, right? And then as soon as they get them, did you see that the Biden administration changed their policy about housing Venezuelan illegals now in Mexico? All it took was sending 40 or so of them to Martha's Vineyard. And I had to argue with people, I won't mention any names, but I argued with lawyers that stick up for illegal immigrants and such. And they were telling me, well, maybe the people of Martha's Vineyard didn't have enough resources. You know, one of the wealthiest communities, now these small Texan towns with 10,000 people that are all living paycheck to paycheck, they're expected to take care of tens of thousands every day, right? But Martha's Vineyard couldn't last 2 days with 50 or so illegal immigrants. Couldn't do it, right? And then they said, Mayama, Mayama, and they hugged each other. They changed our lives forever for being here. They're full of shit, right? And that's always the case. These authoritarian lefties seek to put you in a utopia that they will never have the misfortune of living themselves. That's a good line.
That's actually a great segue.
Actually, Rob, you're wrong.
Victor Davis Hanson
they will live in the utopia. You see, if you ever read any classic science fiction that had utopias in them, utopias are constructed as a two-tier system. There's the utopia, where people live idyllic lives, right? Then underneath the utopia, there's a dystopia where all the work gets done to support the utopia. That's where we'll be living.
Yeah.
Our descendants will be eating Eloy.
Bugs with open borders, no firearms, no vehicles. Meanwhile, they'll be in their private jets with armed guards eating veal. That's the future we have.
Yeah, but give it time, and they will be the Eloy, and we will be eating them.
So something was actually brought up today during the press conference with Karine Jean-Pierre. We're going to go out of order here for a moment there, Kieran.
Your Bob.
Yes. And this right here, this question was asked by an immigrant reporter of the Biden administration. Well, let's hear how she responds to this brave immigrant.
Does she look like she thought she was going to fart and then realized she was wrong?
Does President Biden want more migrants to come to Delaware?
I don't even understand that question, but I'll move on.
How xenophobic can you be? She was speaking plain English. Even my fucking illiterate ass could understand what the hell she was saying.
I didn't actually hear what she said.
She said, I'll repeat. She said, does Biden want more migrants in Delaware? And Pierre said, I don't even understand the question.
And then moved on.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's an easy question. A 4-year-old could answer it.
Yeah.
They know. They know. They're all liars. Like, New York knows it. DC knows it. They started shipping them there, and they're like, this is a crisis. All of a sudden, it was a crisis, right? And this is constantly the contempt that they hold flyover country with, which are people that are working class communities, areas that are working class. The contempt they have for that is unbelievable. It's unbelievable. They treat you again. And look, you could take polling with a grain of salt, obviously, right? But a lot of times, even if the numbers aren't accurate, they do show sort of a framework of what people are thinking. Remember when there was that poll done like 2-3 years ago where it was something like 63% of Democrats polled said they would rather their neighbor be a member of MS-13 than a Trump supporter? Like, that's insanity. Now, I don't like Democrats, but I would rather have a gangbanger living next to me than a Democrat. It's just, you can see the contempt. They literally are like, you're beneath us. You're just worker bees for us. Shut up and take these illegals. And by the way, the illegals are good too. Listen to like Alyssa Milano and them when they tweet about them. Who will wash our toilets? Who will mow our yards if we get rid of them? Right. That's how they look at them. And they call you a bigot for pointing out like how insane this is.
Rob, they call most of the states in America flyover states because of what you said. I mean, just that fucking word tells you everything you need to know about these people. Flyover states.
Yep, that's exactly. And that's to me.
All they do is fly over them and move on.
That's right. And to me, that's the group. Like, this is why I never will shit on the idea of black people coming together and advocating for black rights, or gay people coming together, because I do the same thing. But my group's not racial. It's not religious. It's flyover country. It's people in working class America that I feel have no cultural representation almost at all, no political We continue. Look, as much as I'll criticize inner city Detroit for voting Democrat year after year after year as crime goes up in their community, my community votes Republican year after year. What's our representative doing? Nothing. That's why I ran for office, because I'm tired of seeing it. There is no representation for people in rural America. There is none. And I'm sick and tired of it.
Every economic catastrophe in the United States, from what I have learned in history and stuff, and on movies, obviously, the rural states, not that flyover states, have been hit the first and the worst.
Yeah, it's true. Now, it depends on how you look at it. Like, you go back and look at the history of the Great Depression. Areas where I lived at absolutely were impoverished, but the social cohesion was such that families supported each other's, neighbors supported neighbors. It wasn't cutthroat like you see in the cities, like in New York City when the Depression hit, and people were like literally like starving to death. Like, my community was a bunch of farms with natural resources and stuff. They got by.
You go to London, and we suffered from the Depression just as bad as the States. In London, you had an increase in crime, but the communities were supportive of each other. I think it's because New York was basically a constructed city, wasn't it? Whereas London grew up of lots of little villages.
And there certainly were people in New York that looked out for each other. But I'm just saying a bunch of factors lead to, like, it's sad, but when you hear... The sad truth is this. It's not necessarily sad. The people that mock flyover country, they're about to be moving to flyover country. Because what we're seeing as technology allows us to be more interconnected, you don't have to, for a lot of jobs and businesses now, to be physically on site as much. Maybe you argue you should, but that's just the nature of it. And so as properties are cheaper in suburban and rural communities, you'll see more and more people moving there, and it's less crowded and there's less crime and things like that. But sadly, these people that are fleeing these communities that they voted for policies that have ruined will try to bring those shit policies to areas where I live. That's what they won't say, geez, maybe the way we look, and you see this in places like California where they're fleeing to Austin, Texas, and then bringing the same policies. And then it's like, oh, who would have thought 10 years later it's going to look like San Francisco? Maybe not as bad, but you get the idea. So, I mean, it's really like, be careful what you wish for. You might have all the great Netflix shows filmed there and all the great video games made there. We grow the food. That's all I'm saying. And I'm not advocating stopping sending food. That's not what I'm saying. But maybe you should have a little respect for people that make your highfalutin life possible, because they're out there every day working 9 to 5, they're fixing your car, they're fixing the plumbing, they're growing the food that you rely on so that you could sit on your fucking Twitch show and make fun of them and call them stupid and shit. I find it infuriating. I really do.
So about spitting in the face.
Like most people in the UK, most of the things I want to see if I visit the United States are in what you would call flyover country.
Yeah.
That's where the best countryside is, for one thing.
So, when you talk about spitting in the face of those who are giving you things, when you look at things like what's going on in Ukraine and the shutdown of Starlink, evidently SpaceX cannot afford to keep it up without more infusions from the DoD, which news information has come out stating that about 85% of it has been funded by the DoD, and but the extra 15% SpaceX has been paying for. And Now, of course, after Elon Musk proposed his path towards peace, and he was basically told to F off, he did exactly that. He packed up his Barbie dolls.
There was no basic about it. They told him to F off.
Yes. So he packed up his Barbie dolls and he went home, and now Ukraine is crying about how, oh, the evil Musk, he took away our form of communication, but you pissed on his head and told him it was raining.
Well, this happens this happens all over the place. There was a great question that I promised to stick on to this topic, but just a brief segue. There was a great question asked by Peter Doocy today where he said, you're telling fossil fuel companies, right? You're telling these oil companies that you want them to kind of make sacrifices right now. Why should they listen to you when you're trying to put them out of business? And Pierre's like, what? What do you mean putting them out of business? He's like, you're literally talking of banning fossil fuel. That's putting them out of business. And I've said this all the while, right? It's like, why would you piss on the people that, you need for the current, even if you hate Elon Musk, right? If you're Zelensky and you hate Elon Musk, can't you just keep it to yourself until you're done with the usefulness of him?
Hold on a minute, Rob, I've got to address the chat. Demon, they've already made that film, Leprechaun in Space.
It wasn't as good as The Hood, right? Leprechaun in the Hood was better.
No, Leprechaun in Space was better.
You think? We'll do a viewing party. We'll watch them back to back.
Hey, which one had the hot blonde in it and which one didn't?
I don't know. I'm married, so I don't focus on that type of stuff. Family values here. So, was it like, who was it? It was like Busta Rhymes, I think, was in the one in The Hood. I could be wrong.
Yeah,
but,
that was terrible.
Now I'm going to get shit. It was a rapper, and they'll be like, oh, you couldn't tell me.
I think it was Ice Cube.
Ice Cube? Okay, maybe. But anyways, it was like with Russia. Why would you, regardless of what your feelings are in the conflict with Ukraine and Russia, if you're Europe and the United States, why would you antagonize them while you're relying on them? Now, as we hear, if I believe Joe Biden, all of our economic woes are because Russia's in this conflict. Okay, then why'd you fuck with them? Why didn't you make us energy independent before you fucked with them? Then go ahead and mess with them. You don't go after, like, it would be like if you really hated your boss, right? And you're like, I'm going to give him what for? Well, you wait until you got another job lined up before you do it. You don't give him what for and then go home and tell your wife, oh shit, now we can't afford groceries or rent because I just gave this guy the business, right? And it's the same with this Elon Musk situation. Here's my question that I haven't heard really anyone ask. If Elon Musk is supposed to donate his services to Ukraine, and if he doesn't, that makes him a stooge of Putin, why don't we just say the same about Lockheed Martin and Raytheon? Why are we donating money to military defense contractors? Why aren't they just nobly sending missiles, Javelin missiles, and aircraft and stuff? Why don't they just do that out of the goodness of their heart? No.
So there is a development on this. There is a development on this, though.
They do, Rob, but unfortunately, when they get there, they tend to explode.
So here's the deal. There is a development on this. Biden administration has announced they are considering making SpaceX, listing them under defense contractors so they can actually force them to provide these services to Ukraine for means of national security. Last time I checked, the United States is not Ukraine, and Ukraine is not an actual ally of the United States. Therefore, is it really a national security thing? I would say no.
Well, my question also is, does the government have to pay those businesses? So if if Biden did that, would the government have to pay?
They do, but it's not anywhere near fair market value to pay them a pittance compared to what they should.
Well, I'll bet you Raytheon and Lockheed Martin's getting fair market value. Well, and then it just so happens they're kicking money back to the politicians.
Because Raytheon and Lockheed Martin don't have to be forced at gunpoint. They're just like, oh, yes, please, stop. So
that's right.
They're willing and complicit.
After decades of wonderful profit margins, they're more than happy.
Who would have thought? And it's so funny to watch these lefties, right? Like, Elon Musk is the devil. He's an asset of Vladimir Putin. He won't donate Starlink. By the way, we should print another $50 billion to send to Ukraine. Well, actually, that money is not going to Ukraine. That money is going to Lockheed Martin, who then are putting it in their pockets, then sending weapons over, a portion of which make it to Ukraine's military. Some of it goes to the black market so that we can fight terrorists 30 years from now and the grift can keep on going. And a lot of that money gets kicked back to politicians. This is the same shit, and Ukraine's been a hotbed of this for years. That's not to say that I like Russia. I don't. Fuck them too. I just want the war to stop, and I'm tired of us being involved. That's it. That's my position on it. But Ukraine's been a hotbed of this. This is how it works, right? The United States government agrees to send billions of dollars to the Ukraine and secured loans that you don't have to pay interest back and other sorts of monies that go to them. Then corrupt people in Ukraine hire family members of politicians in the United States and send them millions of dollars. And so it's a nice, convenient way, so it looks legal on paper, for your politicians to send your tax money so that a bunch of grifters could make a bunch of money that is antithetical to the interest of the people of the United States, and they'll kick back money to the very politicians that sent it to them. Same shit, different day. That's all it is. And now to watch the people that were the most skeptical of this sort of U.S. interventionism with the Iraq war, lefties that said Bush lied, people died, now they're the biggest supporters of it. Like, I'm supposed to believe that 20 years later, all these people that were war criminals are now on the up and up, and we should just trust them with an open checkbook. You can't drink water in Jackson, Mississippi, but at least the people of Ukraine got new Javelin missiles today.
Definitely.
Javelin missiles. Sparky, we're identifying as Ukrainian.
Do you want one?
Based. Let's do it.
You don't want a Javelin missile?
I'm happy with my 30-06, you know.
I don't know, dude. Look, I want a Javelin missile. I actually want a lot of them.
Missile.
Yeah.
See, you're the guys that are playing Call of Duty, like that are
I'm
using
sorry,
like.
I want an orbital weapons platform.
Okay.
Yeah.
How about a weaponized bear? I think something like that. We'll go old school.
Look, if they have trained attack bears, I'll ride that too.
I'm
the guy that calls.
Hold on. You could put those on an orbital weapons platform. You just put them in pods. You launch them to the target. The pods
With
land.
javelins.
The bears get out with machine guns.
Javelins. Yes.
Yes. See, I'm the guy that wants to drive to work in an M1A2 just so I can avoid traffic.
Bradley's
not going to run through it.
I'm happy with my Dodge Journey. Thank you.
But yeah, look, every show.
I want a main battle tank that has VTOL capability, so I can run enemy troops over, then jump up and down on them without getting out.
Every show, I do my best to make sure to give this man his time in the spotlight. Oh my God, Kieran Halcyon's hot takes. Let's see what he's got for us today.
So the lefty version of Project Veritas filmed a very serious gotcha moment, and it's going to just absolutely crush the conservatives and the GOP. And it's wait a minute.
Oh God, not this.
Brother-in-law was up at the Capitol on January 6th, and all these things are doing to these freedom fighters who are like in the jail in DC. I think it's terrible, and I'm just hoping you guys are going to fight for them to get pardoned.
But if we were gotten on their own, they would
need to win the White House.
We got all of those things to
You said that can happen, that we can fight.
If we have the White House, we can do that. But not till we win the White House.
Gotcha. So much for everything you're doing.
The FBI
survival of people on 401k, Social Security, the lower income.
This is actually why Jim Jordan on oversight.
And
Every one of those documents from the FBI goes to his committee.
And then,
you can hold them
just
accountable.
like coming out of the
You can
Jimmy
expose them to the public. That's really going on.
Are we going to be able to defund the FBI?
You don't want to defund them. You want to wake them up. It's different.
They got him. They got him. He's finished now.
That's not actually a baby. It's a very small FBI spy. And
like they're
can
playing
you
this
highlight?
kind of gotcha footage of, they got him saying he's going to break up the FBI. Hand him a megaphone and take the baby away. He'll say it loud and proud. He's not afraid. The only reason
Can you
he's being
highlight
quiet
what?
about it is because he's a baby in his arms.
Can you highlight what Eric Schinault has said in the chat, please?
Who? Oh, squirrels with flamethrowers?
Yeah.
Are they Elon Musk flamethrowers?
No, they work.
Because those are garbage. Look, it's hard to hear because there's someone speaking in the background. You got to read the subtitles and everything. But yes, he actually said that he wanted to break up the FBI. I say destroy the FBI, the IRS, the CIA. Let's get rid of all of the alphabets. They're already proven to be corrupt beyond belief. For Christ's sakes, it's been over 20 years since Snowden proved that the NSA has been spying on Americans, and Joe Biden recently just signed an EO stating they can do it again.
Rolling back the EO protections that Obama put into place.
Yeah. Well, the Zero Gold's having a crack at you in the chat.
At me?
No.
Oh.
Uzis are overdone, dude. You need to find.
Yeah, dude.
Thing.
Yeah, I
Uzis
mean,
were a mistake.
I don't understand. Like, it really shows you the priority. First off, how ham-fisted is that, right? Like, I don't know. Veritas always sort of cuts out the voice of their undercover person, probably because they'd want to use him again. But like, how ham-fisted is it? Like, oh, just thank you for what you're doing, and let's get all of the patriots out, right? Let's get them all out. So it's very ham-fisted the way they come through it. But yeah, I mean,
they're playing this as some kind of gotcha, and it's just like, dude, it's not a gotcha.
If I was that guy, I would be, like you said, I'd be more vocal. I've been vocal about it. And what's their big fear here? What exactly is the fear from the leftist perspective? Why is this such a scary thing?
If he wasn't holding a baby and there wasn't a speaker on a stage somewhere, he would be like, yeah, no, absolutely. We're going to do this and this and this and fuck those guys. And this is going to happen. And we're going to do this and this and this. It's not a gotcha.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think. I wish that more Republicans. The sad part is Kevin McCarthy's not going to go along with that. Mitch McConnell's not going to go along with that. But I wish more Republicans were vocally like that.
You want Jim Jordan on oversight.
Yeah, Jim's. I've questioned some of the stuff he's done, but yeah, that's the sort of people that you want.
Things he's done, but you want to question some of the things they've done because none of our leaders are perfect. None of them.
He should have voted against the Section 230 shit. But nonetheless, the point is this. Like, yeah, that's exactly what needs to happen. And listen, the Democrat Party right now, if you had to take one characteristic of what they are establishment bootlickers. That's it. Explain it to me this. The average, like, I won't say the average, the position associated with Democrats regarding law enforcement would be systemic racism, distrust, maybe defund, right? Except the premier law enforcement agency, except the FBI. We trust everything they say. Trust them all. Don't defund them. They're telling the truth. You know, I debated a guy the other day, and we were talking about whether or not the FBI was corrupt, and I told him, he thought he had some big gotcha. He's like, first tell me what you would do. I was like, disband them, criminally charge the people at the top of the organization, and unredactedly release everything of evidence of their corruption and meddling in our country and others for the past 30 years. That's what I'd do, you know, and make sure everyone who worked in that organization above a certain level is never allowed to work in government service ever again. And so
was this the guy that had Molly up his ass?
No. This was a different guy. This guy,
I'm not kidding.
Maybe worse than that guy. Yeah. That happened. I debated someone who was stuttering and said it was because they'd shoved Molly up their ass. So that's the quality of debate.
Mina thinks the FBI works for the big guys. I don't. I think the FBI work for the FBI.
To be fair, most of them aren't really that big. Actually, most of them are on the shorter than average side.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
The glow.
Like Ben Shapiro.
Yeah.
Hobbits people.
What this guy said was, he starts out. So I think the debate's going to be him being like, well, the FBI is super trustworthy, right? He starts off his opening statement. This is what he says, like, oh, the FBI, you know, in the past, they were criminal in the way they went after MLK and criminal in the way they went after these other groups. And I'm like,
oh, that guy.
Yeah,
I know you're talking
about. Yeah, agreed. These aren't points for your side. These are points for my side. And what his position is, which he then realizes is how stupid he is, he has to somehow make the argument, well, I think that they were corrupt every time they went after left-wing people, but now they're not corrupt. Right? He has to say that.
Kieran mentioned Ben Shapiro there. I mean, I like the guy. He talks a lot of sense, but I often wonder, what would it be like if you dosed this coffee with speed?
Oh,
I mean,
I can talk fast.
Yeah, but is your wife a doctor?
Maybe a doctor of psychology. She messes with my head.
Checkmate.
Yeah.
Checkmate, pleb. His wife's a doctor.
Yeah. Can you imagine Ben Shapiro on speed or too much coffee and speed?
Sounds something like this. What we need to do is have physical service with the office. We need to be able to see them, but we have people like Steve Bannon that I didn't really trust in the first place. But we think Bannon should go through this. But what I'm saying is, even though I didn't originally like Trump, we should be able to support him. And it's bad that we see people on January 6th and being locked up as much as possible. We need to focus more on things like tax cuts, traditional policies, and abortion, and things like that. We should go against this populism. Oh, would you freeze me out?
I was trying to blow him up.
Yeah.
That might be Rich.
He'd be like that squirrel over the hedge.
Yeah, dude. Look, that's why they call robnoerr the freaking rap god over there on Twitch, because he does talk hella fast. And my goodness, look, if you guys, if y'all happen to, y'all actually are subscribed to Freedom Tubes, you need to go over there. They said if the media was honest about January 6th, you need to go watch it. Something, behold my field. Notice it is barren. It is my field of fucks. These are the kind of things. American politicians are so out of touch. And to prove that, Peter Doocy today asked Joe Biden, which is more important, inflation or abortion. Let's see what
he went on about when he was a kid.
Top domestic issue: inflation or abortion.
All important. Unlike you, there's no one thing. It crosses the board. Domestic. Ask me about foreign policy too. There's multiple issues, and they're all important. And we ought to be able to walk and chew gum at the same time. You know.
Question, Mr. President: can you do that? Can you walk and chew gum at the same time? Inquiring minds would like to know.
Yeah,
well, we know he can't ride a bicycle. We found that out.
And he did fail the stair challenge going up
multiple times.
Yes. So
I don't understand why they're asking Biden these questions. Why don't they just cut to the chase and ask the Easter Bunny? It's clear that he's running the show after those excellent clips from the egg roll there at the White House.
Oh my God! Yeah, it's
it's
one of those things that bothers me, honestly, because when you have the leader of the free world, and which is the most important domestic policy? Is it inflation or is it abortion? Biden, this was a softball. Biden could have easily said, look, it is inflation, because not everyone is wanting abortions, but everyone has to fuel their vehicles, buy groceries and everything else. That was actually a softball question. This was not an own by Peter Doocy.
Sparky.
This was actually a softball question that Biden should have been more than prepared to answer, and he did not do it.
Sparky, can you share? Go to the link I just provided in the private chat and share it.
I got it.
Wow.
I don't really have a problem with Biden
terrible.
saying this. I'll be honest, because this is what you expect, particularly from a Democratic politician. It's difficult, right? If I was running as a Democrat, I would have to give that answer. Why? Because abortion's a sacrament for them. They can't say anything's more important than that, no matter what. They can't say nuclear war is more important than that. That has to be, that's, even if they don't believe it, they know that they just have to cliche say that. The problem is, like,
Well,
with this example.
they're not doing their job.
Well, that's
As
true.
A representative is supposed to represent the people, not the party that he's
But imagine, okay, but put it the other way. Let's try to be fair and put it the other way. Let's say that someone goes up and they ask Ron DeSantis, what's more important right now, inflation and the economy in Florida, or respecting people's religious rights, respecting attacks on Christianity? I would fully expect Ron DeSantis to be like, both are very important, right? And give some form of, now he might be more tactful. He's not going to sound mushmouth like Biden. But the problem with Biden's answer,
insult the reporter as
Right.
long as they're not.
well,
ridiculous.
right.
Well, the best way to
maybe-
put that,
Biden instantly
the best-
turn around and they're both equally important, unlike you, and it's just like,
Thanks.
the
dude.
best way
Yeah.
to put that, what you just said, especially if you're a Republican, is both are very important, but the economy has to come first, because if the economy falls to shit, religious practices don't matter anymore because you can't afford them.
Well, that's true. That is a true answer. But then the question becomes in like, okay, so if we sacrifice religious rights to improve the economy, you would say that you're worth it. If the economy comes first, then you would say this particular policy that they think would be an infringement on religious rights, but we have an argument would help the economy, right? So it just opens yourself up to sort of crazy arguments. Yeah, I agree, Bandit. He is on the hot seat with some Second Amendment stuff. But here's the thing. The problem with Biden's answer, it's not that. The problem is that they clearly don't think any of these things are important, like the economy. And here's why. This isn't, I go between incompetence or just abject hubris of why they do this. The Democrats are doing things that are just unbelievably brazenly stupid, right? So for example, if I'm running Biden and someone's like, if I'm Biden and someone says to me, Mr. President, blah, 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 the economy, this would be my answer. I'd be like, listen, there are absolutely bad things happening economically with millions of Americans right now. And we understand that pain. We're doing as much as possible to be able to fight that. We think a lot of it has to do with Russia, with COVID, and with what our predecessors did. But people are absolutely right to know that they're feeling the pinch right now. We're going to do what we can. And we think if you elect Democrats, we'll be able to have policies going forward that will help you. Instead, the argument that Biden's making is strongest economy ever. The economy's booming, baby.
Good.
And
Strongest
what that
economy ever,
does
Jack.
is, what's that?
Strongest economy ever, Jack.
Yeah, right.
As
Now
he
give me
eats
some
his
chocolate
chocolate
chip.
chip.
Yeah. And so
Yeah.
and so then like imagine that you're a Democrat that reliably voted for Biden, right? And you're losing your house. And you're like, that's the guy you voted for? He's not saying, sure, you're
Oh,
struggling, we're
God.
going to help you.
I just realized something. Joe Biden is Harold Camping. The guy who
We don't-
predicted the end of the world
I don't
3
know.
times.
Yeah, still not tracking.
Oh,
Yeah, people sold their houses because they believed him.
right. Yeah, and so what happens
He's
is
the same guy.
you see, like, there's other things. Like, you remember when the photo of Stacey Abrams in the school took place, right? And all these kids have masks on, and Stacey Abrams is sitting there with the smile with no mask. And it's funny because if you just, quote, trusted the science, not even science of whether or not masks work or anything like that, if you just said, which one of these, who in this picture is most likely to contract and get, spread COVID, it's easily Stacey Abrams. She's older than the kids. She's a little more overweight, like not picking on her. It's just true, right? And yet the one person that if masks do work should have had a mask on didn't. And that, it didn't surprise me she didn't though. What surprised me was that not one of her aides pulled her aside and said, hey, Stacey, we're going to take a few publicity photos. Can you put the mask on real quick? Right? They didn't even do that. They were just like, we don't even have to. We don't even give a shit. Either they're stupid or what I believe is they're just like, fuck it, we don't care. Our supporters support us no matter what. We don't care. We have contempt for you. We will piss on your leg right in front of you, and we don't care. And so that's what's so frustrating about Biden. If Biden really cared about the economy, and this is true going, like the stimulus bills, right? If it was so important because the government locked people down to then send them money because you locked them down and now they're struggling, how long did that bill have to be? 5 pages? 2 pages? We're going to send everyone that got locked down or everyone in the country $1,500. Bam, end of bill. Instead, it was thousands of pages talking about things like, well, we have to make sure people of color are in CEO positions of this, and we have to make sure that we're sending so much money to this group and this group and this group. And it's like, it was a slap in your face because what it showed you was they didn't really think that it was high priority to send people money. If they did, like, let me ask you, Kieran or Aircraft or Batman, if I was to tell you I'm a home inspector and I just looked at your houses and the foundation's crumbling and will literally collapse within a month, we're going to condemn your house in 1 week unless you repair that foundation. And then imagine you go to your families and you say, okay, right now the foundation's going to crumble. We need to pull our money together and be able to do it. But also I'd like a new PlayStation 5 and we need a new Xbox, right? Like your family, wouldn't they just be like, are you insane? You're not taking this seriously. But Biden, he could walk and chew gum, apparently. He could buy the Xbox and fix the foundation.
I don't, judging from his attempts to get into Air Force One, I don't think he can do either.
He can't.
He can.
Yeah.
Just watch me. Remember when he was asked that? Like, what do you say about people that are declining it? Just watch me. Now, here's a blind man leading me around. Literally a blind man leading me in that one clip. Holy shit.
I bet if Gerald Ford was alive, he'd be saying, at least I fell down the stairs.
That's true.
I got one word to describe America.
I was yeah.
2 words, made in America.
Yeah, lion, dog face, pony soldier. I challenge you to a push-up contest.
Salute the Marines.
It's just, it's surreal.
It,
hey, look, I've said this
is.
from the get-go. I've said this, like, to me, what's scarier, that they cheated in the 20... I'm on YouTube. I'm not saying they cheated in the 20... That would be un-American to say there was cheating in the 2020 election. I would never say that. But I'm just saying, hypothetically, what's a scarier proposition?
Just not enough.
What's the scarier proposition? That there was cheating or there wasn't? Because if there wasn't, what that means is that the powers that be, the establishment, the social media giants, the tech companies, the corporate America, the mainstream media, academia, entertainment industry, were able to drag a guy who wasn't campaigning for 2 months, who has dementia and doesn't know where he is, across the finish line. And if that's the future we have to look forward to, and by the way, John Fetterman then comes in the next line of great candidates, right? A man who has a stroke that can't even understand spoken words. Next year, in 2028, they're probably just going to straight up run a comatose victim and say you're a bigot if you're against it, right? Like, how dare you? What's that?
I thought they already had.
In fact, yeah.
There's another one that makes it even scary. If there was no cheating in the election, that means hundreds of thousands of dead people actually did vote in the election.
Well, here's the thing, on all seriousness, no matter what your feelings are on how secure the election was, it is undoubtable that millions and millions of people actually voted for Joe Biden. And that's scary enough.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just true.
I actually watched the election, the election maps and everything, and Trump was ahead. He was ahead almost everywhere. And then all of a sudden, literally out of nowhere, bang!
You're about to get me banned off YouTube.
Well, so
I didn't see anything about cheating.
Of election issues, we actually have something about that.
Yes, we do, because Arizona, yet again, there's been a lot of questions going up with Arizona. And look, registration error is going to affect up to 6,000 Arizonans. Part of this problem is the fact that they allow for non-citizens to vote in local elections. This is part of the problem. It is some of California's policies coming home to roost in Arizona. And the Katie Hobbs, who is running for governor, she is the current Secretary of State. She says voter registration error has caused some voters to get mail ballots with only federal races on them. Now, illegals and stuff are allowed to vote in certain areas of Arizona, but only for local elections. Why are they getting federal only? They're in the article, they actually talk about approximately 100,000 of them will receive mail-in ballots without local races, but it's too soon to know how many of them should have received the full ballot. State Election Director Corey Lorick said on Wednesday. The Arizona election is going to be in question yet again, and mail-in ballots happen to be the problem. I'm starting to see a little bit of patterns. And look, we already know that there was some problems with the Arizona election. Not enough to have swayed the election, mind you, but there were problems. And you would think with the past 2 years, something should have been sorted out. And now the current state Secretary of State, who actually runs the elections and is currently running for governor, is actually sending out ballots to people who can't vote in local elections, who are unable to vote in, the local elections because it's not listed.
The temptation to cheat and vote in an election is quite high as well. I mean, when my dad had dementia, I got one of we got the polling cards, right? But they sent one for my dad as well. My dad was not mentally fit to vote. Yeah. I was really tempted to use it, but instead phoned up. I phoned them up, let them know my dad's condition, and tore up his voting card.
Integrity, I like it.
Here's the thing, right? It's difficult to talk about fraud because of the nature of the platforms that we're streaming. So let me take it to this place, right? Let's assume that this, as it appears to be, was a total accident. Let's assume that that's the case. Okay, it's a total accident. This is why it is important that everyone, Republican and Democrat, should be for transparent elections and election security, because if fraud is able to occur, or if accidents are able to occur, if we really want elections to have the correct outcome for how people want, then we should make sure it's as transparent as possible. This was the major problem I had with the outcome of the 2020 election. Many of the times when a situation happens, it'll raise eyebrows, and I try not to jump to conclusions, and I say, okay, it looks like something, but let's look at the facts. Let's see what we can do. Oftentimes, what causes even more skepticism to me isn't the initial action, but it's the reaction. And for me, the reaction of, this was the most secure election ever. is so farcical on its face. And that's if you take fraud and corruption out of the equation. Let's not talk about cheating. Let's just talk about accidents. I'm supposed to believe that traditionally in the United States, it's somewhere, I'm going to butcher these numbers, but it's something like between 6 to 8% of mail-in ballots are rejected for non-fraudulent reasons. Just mistake, non-proper dates put on, paperwork not filled out properly. Signatures, right. Exactly. Things like that.
On the wrong side of town.
You know what the numbers were in the 2020 election? Less than 1%. Now, you might say, well, that's because these people were used to voting by mail, and so therefore they were making less. But it's actually the exact opposite. It's places that never had mail-in ballot like this.
Yes.
We're doing it for the first time because of COVID, right? And so when you see that, human nature, this would be the proper Democrat response. No doubt there was probably some amount of fraud. No doubt there was some amount of mistakes. But we see no evidence that those reached the levels that they were able to sway the election. But we absolutely will look into this because we want to make sure that there is as little error and as little room for fraud as possible in elections going forward. That would be a sensible, believable position that you could accept someone on the left having, right? But instead they said, how dare you? It's the most secure election ever, and now we're going to ban you for suggesting otherwise. Now, the election that was immediately of national report right after this was the election in New York City, right? For their mayor, right? And remember, if you remember this, like this ended up happening. Adams, I think, who ended up winning, his internal polling showed that he was going to be winning. But then tens of thousands of ballots came in for his opponent, which bucked all of the internal polling that people had. And so he came out election night and was like, wait a minute, like there's a problem here. And instantly people started bagging on him. Here we go, election denier. And then New York came out and said, our bad, we accidentally put 16,000 practice ballots through that were for this other person. Then it took weeks and weeks for them to be able to count the ballot. This was just a year or two after what we were told. Our elections are so good in this country. They're the most secure ever. Now, am I saying that they intentionally tried to fraudulently keep this guy from winning mayor? No, I'm not saying that. It probably legitimately was a mistake. But in the world that they're setting up where you're not allowed to speak on these things, if he would have just been like, well, we're banning you from YouTube. You can't say that. You're un-American. Who wins that race then? And we never find out the fraud possibly. So that's what it was. Like, don't piss. It's just like I said about Biden, right? Don't piss on my leg. Like, you could say, yeah, the economy's struggling, but it's not my fault. Here's what I'm going to do to help. But what I won't accept is you trying to tell me and gaslight me that the economy's great. Similarly with the election, I'll listen to a Democrat. It's not an unreasonable position for a Democrat to say, yeah, things look shady at face value. I don't see a smoking gun that there was evidence that the election was stolen or that there was enough errors to swing any of these states. But sure, maybe we should look into it. That's a defensible position. I'm not saying that that person's immoral or a moron or anything like that, but I'm not going to listen to them say it's the most secure ever. And after that, just like this story, we see in the normal course of events, even if you, regardless if you think it's corruption or if you just think that it was an accident, these things happen. And the Democrats are setting up a world where you're not allowed to talk about these things.
Rude.
Yeah, agreed, Bandit.
My goodness. And our final story for the night, CDC committee to vote on COVID-19 mRNA vaccine childhood schedule. Now, my children are, of course, already raised. Rob, you're more of a new parent. This is going to affect you and any future children that you may have. And ladies and gentlemen in the audience, I don't know. Look, vaccines overall have been a net positive to the world. However, medical testing protocol needs to be followed.
Can I ask you a question, Sparky, first of all?
Yes.
Am I right in assuming most of the, I'm talking pre anybody even hearing about COVID, most of the anti-vaxxers were in California?
I don't know.
There was a lot, but they're everywhere though. It's,
things like polio have returned in California.
So is tuberculosis.
Things which,
the Black Death.
Things which weren't a thing because of childhood vaccinations.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm supporting your point here.
But the problem with the mRNA vaccines is, in fact, long-term studies do not exist. In fact,
Exactly.
recently I was banned off of YouTube. I received a strike for actually stating that one of the senior executives of Pfizer came forward and stated that there was no testing for transmissibility with the vaccine. We actually don't know what the vaccines do. From what we understand, it does lessen the symptoms, but transmissibility, we're not sure exactly what that does.
Yeah, I had the first two. I had the first one and the second shot. Mine were AstraZeneca, though. Hold on. Yeah, I think that's right. Not the ones that you get.
AstraZeneca is more of a UK-based thing. I mean,
Yeah.
we can get
But
those here.
There was the first injection I got, nothing happened. Second injection, I was sleeping a lot more, and then I was fine.
And I know a lot of people that actually saw that they saw issues with the second. And I know there's some purebloods in the audience. There's some people that have been vaxxed. Look, that's a personal decision you need to make between yourself and your
I agree.
doctor. I'm not going to tell you how to live your life. But what bothers me is that if they put this on the child's schedule, especially for things like public school and whatnot, you're actually putting the parents into a kind of a bad position on something that is untested, and you're going to expose their children to these drugs that may be approved by the CDC, but it's not. There's nothing to back it up. Is where the problem is. There's no long-term studies that have been given, and that should be terrifying for young parents.
The one you get in the States, you know why they're insistent on you getting it? It's because trying to make you sleep beside a giant pea pod is a dead giveaway.
So currently, my mother is running some issues with her blood, and these issues started popping up in April. You know what happened in May? She got a little prick. Just saying.
She started in April and she got it in May.
January, February, March, April. So March is when she got. A month before she got the vaccine. And the doctors are even scared to talk about this because I don't know. I don't know why. I don't know what their motives are, and it would be improper for me to claim motive.
Yeah,
but
Danny Harper there. Yeah, I would probably agree with that, but it was a French general who said it, so I can't.
Yeah, we're not big fans of the French here, but with you being the youngest parent here, Rob, what are your thoughts on this?
I think that it is horrific. I think that anytime that you're forcing parents to make sort of decisions like this and punishing them and punishing the children because of this, that it's horrific. Now, the counter argument to this, there's always these threshold arguments, right? Does the government ever have the right to force you to do things with the way you raise children? Well, yeah. For example, if you're physically beating your child or neglecting them to the point of starvation and things like that, of course, the government has the right to step in and say you can't do that, right? Does that apply to medications? Maybe. I can see religious exemptions and stuff, but if your argument was if your kid does not get this medication, then in all likelihood they will spread a serious illness to other children at the school. It's debatable.
Common sense.
The threshold, though, has to be incredibly high for something like that. And the problem here is, one, as you already said, we don't have a bastion of research on what this vaccine does to adults over the long term, and let alone children. And secondly, what is the risk profile for children, right? Now, I've done a lot of looking into not necessarily children, but I've looked a lot into people with prior COVID infection. According to the CDC's latest paper that was released, looking at millions of people that had COVID between May and January 2022, May 2021 and January 2022, the evidence is quite clear. If you had a prior infection of COVID, you were at very low risk to have a serious case of COVID through that time period. In fact, so low that your chance of actually having serious side effects from the vaccine, although be it low, and I only use sources that supported this vaccine, they still outweighed. Your risk of serious side effects still outweighed your chance to be hospitalized over that period with COVID. Similar numbers of true are children. So, like, if you just poke real quick, I think I brought this up. The percentage of people that have died of COVID in the United States is, I don't have, that chart's not going to be any good. The numbers are outrageous. Let me just look here real quick. So if you look at people 0 to 17 since 2019 until October 5th, 2022, there have been 1,300 people between 0 and 17 years that allegedly have died of COVID. Now, that's less than most flu seasons. In fact, when it comes to hospitalizations for children of respiratory illnesses, these past couple years have been amongst the safest ever recorded. COVID is not a disease. It doesn't mean that a child can't get it, and it doesn't mean that they can't have a serious case, but it's incredibly rare. Incredibly rare. And so the idea that we would force a vaccine on children that we don't know what the long-term ramifications will be for a disease that basically, by and large, is ineffectual to them is monstrous, right? And it's the same people that told you. It's the same people that told you that we had to lock these children down from schools. We had to. Meanwhile, we see European countries, which we're told have far better medical industry than us, far better healthcare than us. Not only are they not forcing children to take the vaccine, some are starting to recommend against it. And the United States is putting it on, the CDC is putting on the list that states, now let's be clear, just because it's on this list does not mean that the states have to force the vaccine. It's still up to the states what they force the children to take to go attend their public schools. But certainly many states will go along with it, and more importantly, what this does is it makes these companies immune from civil lawsuits. Once the vaccine is officially recommended by the CDC on this list, you can no longer sue Pfizer if your child's harmed by taking this. So it is monstrous. It is a profit. It's about profit and control. That's what it's about. And you should be disgusted as a parent, if they're trying to force this upon your child. It is absolutely disgusting.
Yeah, I think what this will do will actually push a lot of parents to keep their children out of public school, which right now is not a bad idea considering the orthodoxy of wokeness that we see within the public school system, and more leaning towards homeschooling and even things like have you heard of pod schooling?
I know, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
In the group.
Yeah, it's just like little neighborhood schools and stuff. I think these are good ideas.
I remember biology in school. One thing that vaccines have the potential to do, and it was actually a problem with the early vaccines, is they can cause changes in genetics, which can
birth
lead
defects
to
and all kinds of crazy stuff. And this was something that a lot of skeptical people were talking about.
So actually, can viruses? A lot of our DNA is made up of prehistoric viruses.
Yeah, I don't know anything about that, to be honest. Pretty kind of ignorant on that end. But what I do know is the history of vaccines has been a gruesome one, and every time we have gone without proper testing of these vaccines, horrific outcomes have happened.
Not just vaccines. Look at thalidomide.
Well, think about the messaging from the left. Like, so I don't know if these numbers still hold up, but at one point, if you wanted to look at racial demographics, which racial demographic was least likely to have the vaccine? It was black,
African Americans.
Right. Now, why would this be the case? Well, the Democrat official position for the past 6 years, if not longer, has been that every major institution in this country is systemically racist, including the pharmaceutical industry. And in fact, Democrats attack the pharmaceutical industry quite frequently, not only saying they were systemically racist, but saying they were greedy profit mongers, blah, 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 blah. And now, just like that, at the flip of the hat, they're like, oh, okay, now they're the good guys. And not only are they the good guys, but we have to send them trillions of dollars, and you all should be forced to take their product. Now, maybe the product's good. Maybe it is good. But maybe that's a reason that you shouldn't have spent years saying that they were systemically racist. Because is it any shock that when you talked about, the pharmaceutical industry and healthcare in the United States is systemically racist, look at the Tuskegee experiments, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, that people in that community aren't going to just at the flip of a hat be like, oh, okay, now I can trust them because Joe Biden tells me. And not to mention, we saw that it was the Democrats that were quite prolific before the election questioning the vaccine, including Joe Biden and Kamala Harris herself. Not to mention a litany of doctors that were on MSNBC, et cetera, that were all like, whoa, it's too hasty. We wouldn't trust a vaccine. And then we were supposed to, after the election, oh, never mind, now the vaccine's good. I'm not saying that the vaccine's good or bad. That's not what I'm saying. Like you said, Sparky, talk to a healthcare professional, give them your own unique case. What I'm against is the forcing of it on people. And what I'm tired, the way we should judge a society is how it treats the most vulnerable. And the most vulnerable are children. And I have watched for 3 years how we have exploited and made children suffer in the names of some sort of adult consolidating power, whether it be Randy Weirgunton at the teachers' unions, whether it be Pfizer to make more money, whether it be because teachers were afraid that they could get COVID if they had to teach. All of this crap, it is monstrous. And the fact that in the name of more profits for Pfizer, that we're going to use children as guinea pigs or take away education opportunities from children if they haven't been vaccinated and harm them in that way, it is disgusting. And there will be a reckoning for this. And I hope that reckoning comes in the form of peacefully getting these people out of positions of power. But if it's left to a higher power, the reckoning of abusing children, and not just this, but also abusing them in other ways, which I can't talk about much on Twitch, but abusing them with possible, removal of body parts, treatments, oversupplying of drugs, etc. It's becoming monstrous. And to me, it's, the final vote's tomorrow, I believe. Today was sort of a preliminary thing, so but they're going to vote for it. They are, and every Republican running, if you have any sort of brain whatsoever, should be cutting a campaign ad tonight about how you will give these decisions back to the parents, and we're tired of seeing big government tell you that your children has to learn X, has to have this injected in them, etc. Enough is enough. It's disgusting.
Brilliant. I've enjoyed having you on. Look,
before you go on, Rob. When that one of Biden's dogs was supposed to have bitten a security guard, wasn't the dog, it was Joe himself. And apparently recently the guy had to be taken out because he finally turned and started attacking people.
Oh, he got rabies, huh?
No, he died and got up again.
Oh my goodness. There you go.
So you can
look. You've articulated things that I could
Sparky
never thought of.
Rob, the guy that posted the bit about the vote at the CDC, he said it himself. Like in a further tweet down, he said, "Yeah, no, absolutely. Republican candidates, GOP candidates need to be out campaigning on this right now."
Yeah.
So.
Look, I'll give you a little hint. Anyway, I'm not a professional. You want to know what every single Republican that's running should have ran on? It's Joe Biden. It's the Democrats. That's who you're voting for if you vote Democrat, which means the economy, the border, crime, lockdowns, and the things like this, mandates and stuff like that, and the indoctrination and sterilization of our children. That's it. 5 issues.
I've got a great one for anybody opposing the Democrats to run on. Yeah, you said Joe Biden. You're right. Joe Biden as president is elder abuse. No, seriously, I'm not joking.
It's you're right, but like in a serious, like all polling shows that the issues I just talked about are winners, right? They are. And what's frustrating is like I'm in Pennsylvania. It's a big swing state, right? We have the governor race. Doug Mastriano is going against Josh Shapiro, who's the attorney general here in Pennsylvania. Like even Democrats are furious about the lockdowns that occurred. And I love Mastriano. I think he's a good candidate. But like the ads that he was pointing out last week was like, I served in the military and benefits for veterans. Yeah, I agree. Those are important issues, but that's not the issue that's a win. If you have limited dollars to spend on your ads, you're just like, dude, Tom Wolf, our governor, that was Josh Shapiro's boss, locked you down, right? He locked your children down. You're suffering economically. Crime is insane in Philadelphia and Pittsburgh right now. That's it. That's your ad. You don't have to talk about your service and stuff like that,
Let me ask you about Dr. Oz then, because I know we've got another member from Pennsylvania in the audience, and she's torn because she doesn't want to vote for Fetterman, and she also doesn't want to vote for Oz. What are your thoughts on Oz?
I don't like Oz. I went to an event and told him to his face I didn't like it, that I didn't vote for him.
Well, like one of the things that he said a while back was that really got me up was he wants to make it impossible for people who smoke to get jobs.
Yeah.
I mean, he's out of touch. He's someone that's buying a seat. He strikes me as another example of Trump putting forth, because he gave the endorsement to Dr. Oz. Kathy Barnett that was running was a far better MAGA candidate. So was Carlos Sands. Carlos Sands was the ambassador to Iceland, I believe, under Trump, stuck by Trump through thick and thin. She would have been an excellent candidate. I talked to these people personally, interviewed them, met them in person, met Dr. Oz. I told Dr. Oz, this was after he won the primary, I said, listen, I don't think you'll be a good candidate. I didn't vote for you. I hope that you prove me wrong. I'll be voting for you. This is what I would say to someone. Dr. Oz probably will let you down, right? He'll probably just be whatever the establishment GOP tells him to say. There's a solid chance of that. But there's a 100% chance that John Fetterman is a radical lockdown, indoctrinate your kids, in free criminals to cause more crime. That is 100%. Right. And he's a stroke victim. Right. Right. This is proven. He is just, this guy was lieutenant governor under Tom Wolf. These people, Tom Wolf, look, I don't have a big following on YouTube, right? Most of my stuff's live streamed, like 2-hour live stream. The video I have that's been the most watched was my friend Todd Bartley, who I used to have a radio show with, who's a journalist out of Williamsport, Pennsylvania here. Todd got to sit in with Health Secretary Levine and Tom Wolf asking questions in 2020 about COVID, right? I was talking to Todd and our other radio host, Carlos, and Tom Wolf had put out this statement saying, if you were in a county that was considering not following his lockdown orders, you were a coward in the face of COVID, and that he would take away your county's CARES Act funding, which was the federal funding to help you survive through COVID, and that he would come for your ability to operate a business and your license to operate a business. So you were a coward. He was going to put you out of business if you violated his lockdown orders. 2 weeks later, Tom Wolf violated his own lockdown order to go march with Black Lives Matter. My friend Todd Bartley then got to be in the audience and ask Health Secretary Levine this question. And he said, given that Tom Wolf called people cowards for violating lockdown orders and then violated that very order himself, do you think that this is sending sort of a mixed message? And Levine's just like, we think that the First Amendment and protest and speech is very important. And the next question, right? That's what I would tell your friend in the audience. I would say this. They told you couldn't visit your family. Health Secretary Levine and the Wolf administration, which, let's not kid ourselves, John Fetterman was right there with as lieutenant governor. She moved her mom out of a nursing home while she forced nursing homes to accept COVID patients, so tens of thousands died. That's what they did. They shut down your business while they went and did whatever they wanted. While people in this state suffered, they laughed, they mocked you, and they went about their business as they saw fit. And now there's devastation in crime, in poverty, and tens of thousands of people whose loved ones died. I could play you clips of people from my show and others, of people saying, my mom had dementia. The only thing keeping her alive was us visiting her in the nursing home. We couldn't. She died alone. That's who these fucking monsters are. They knew what they were doing. They let it happen, and they fucking mocked you for speaking up about it. They told you, the young, healthy person, that you had to lock down and lose your business because if you didn't do that, then grandma would die. And meanwhile, they put COVID patients in with grandma. That's what they did. So I don't like Dr. Oz, and I think he'll be a failure. But I fucking know who John Fetterman was. And I'll be damned if I don't crawl over broken glass to get as many people as I can to reject that hypocrite monster that led to so much damage, people losing loved ones in this country that they so callously tried to shrug off and act like wasn't their fault.
Fetterman, that's the trust fund retard.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not the word I'd use, but yeah, basically.
Yeah, he set himself up as mayor of a very small town that was dying and killed it.
Braddock, yeah. There was Braddock's, you could see Braddock there's a theme park in Pittsburgh called Kennywood. You could see Braddock from Kennywood Park. There was just a shooting at Kennywood the other day. Thanks, Fetterman. Thanks, man. You know, and that's what I'm saying. Those are the issues. I don't understand it. I'm not a professional. There are people paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to work on these campaigns and craft messages. All they had to do was call me. I did it for free. You know, and I am going to put out some ads. I'm going to be putting out like campaign style ads in the next couple weeks, and it's going to be focused on those things: crime, immigration, economy, lockdowns, children. That's it. Those are the issues. And there is not a leg that every poll shows that those are the issues that Pennsylvanians and Americans care about. And every poll shows that they trust Republicans way more. Now, do I think that like the issue of corruption is the most important issue? Yes. But at this point, to win these general elections, you keep the message simple and truthful. You don't lie. You keep the message simple and truthful. And I could talk to my neighbor that's a farmer until he's blue in the face about the corruption of Burisma and Ukraine and Biden and Hunter Biden and, you know, the laptop and stuff like that. And maybe I could convince him of some of that stuff. But you know what he understands? I can't pay my mortgage. That he understands. Right? And so when you're at the 0 hour and you're trying to get their vote, he understands I can't go to the city with my kids without them possibly being attacked. That's a message he understands. They're forcing all of this sexualization on my children at school. That he understands. And so I don't understand why this is so difficult for the GOP to wrap their head around. These are the issues, especially if you're in a border state, illegal immigration. That's the fucking issue, right? Like, and I get incredibly frustrated because who am I? I'm just some pissant that's on here streaming. I work 70, 80 hours a week in home health care. And yet constantly when I go to these Republic events, I scratch my fucking head. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, I don't understand why this is so difficult. So, you know, that's what I would say to your friend. I share her frustration or his frustration with Dr. Oz. I really do. But at this point, you're rejecting Fetterman. You're rejecting Tom Wolf. You're rejecting Joe Biden. That's what you're doing. And once Oz is in there, I'll be right there holding his feet to the fire saying he's shit if he's shit. I said it to his face, so I'm not going to hold back, you know? And that is the battle. We are going to win the House. We'll probably win the Senate. But that means jack shit if the people that won don't actually do things to turn away around the disastrous policy. So that'll be our job going forward. After the election, all of my focus is on holding these people accountable that ran as Republicans. So
I love it. I love it.
Ocean breathe salty. You heard the man. He gave you your reasons. It's not palatable. It's not something that's going to be enjoyable, but you're going to have to hold your nose.
Sometimes,
and then, like you said, hold their feet to the fire.
Yeah.
The best medicine is always the worst tasting.
Look, you have made you have definitely made some people happy tonight. They're enjoying your message. So here, let's give you.
Hold on, Sparky. Before you do, he's made a lot of our audience happy tonight because we've hardly been able to talk.
I know, it's great.
We're both.
It's the easiest damn show we've done in a while.
I just sat back and pushed buttons, man. It was
Rob putting in all the work. So look, if you like this man right now, he needs to tell you where you can find him, and y'all need to go check him out for sure. Give him a good follow.
Yeah, you can find me in Normal America with Rob Noerr on YouTube when I'm not banned. Twitch.tv/Rob Noerr, as you see it spelled there. Normally I'm streaming most weeknights, particularly Wednesday, Thursday, Fridays around 9 p.m. Eastern. The best place you could find me is a new website called Comfy.Stream. So it's COMFY, Comfy.Stream. And then once you sign up for an account there, you'll see me as Rob Noerr. That is ran by my friend Andrew Wilson, who runs The Crucible. He is a conservative. It is a free speech platform. If you are someone who is streaming there, you get something like 96% of all donations that come through there. He is building this website, putting his money where his mouth is, building it from the ground up as a platform. So, you know, right now, I'm sure that all of you three guys agree as well. It's nice when people give us super chats. It's nice when people subscribe on Twitch. But a portion of that money is going to people that fucking hate us, that want us censored, right? And so I think that the future is people creating platforms where we don't have to rely on the good nature of Jeff Bezos owning Twitch.tv to allow us to speak. So you follow me on Comfy.Stream. I could say whatever I want on whatever issue I want. I get a higher percentage of money, and the money I'm not getting that you donate is going to people that believe in conservative values and free speech. Even if you're a Democrat, a lefty, you should appreciate that because eventually they're going to come for you. So those are the places you can find me. I've had a great time. Sparky is the man for winning this weight loss competition. It was great to interact with Kieran and Batman. Hopefully we could do it again. I had a lot of fun. Sorry I talk so much.
Oh, no. It's great.
If you talk too much, we would have said something.
Yeah. No, you did great. We appreciate it.
Write them out so we didn't have to listen to Sparky all that often.
There you go.
Yeah.
This voice is horrible.
No, it's not that. It's actually Rob talking so much just stopped you from saying stupid shit.
He still managed some.
Yeah. Yeah,
It is
look,
nearly as
impossible
much as
to
he
stop him
knows.
completely. Believe me, we've tried.
I am a juggernaut of stupidity at times. But ladies and gentlemen, that's where we are. Y'all need to go find Rob. Look, y'all need to go over to Comfy.Stream. That is Andrew Wilson's BPF's platform.
Right. Sparky, you could drop his links in the chat, you know.
If I had him up, I would. I messed up here. Usually I'm good at that.
Did you put them in the description?
No, but I will. I'll hit it up in the back end, dude. I've been burning at both ends of the candle this week. It's been a rough one. But ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate y'all all coming by. Maybe doing something this weekend. Although it is my wedding anniversary this weekend and my wife's birthday is coming up, so
people who don't know, Sparky's been indulging in drag racing this week, and apparently he hasn't got the hang of running in high heels yet.
Yeah. It's hard. It's hard.
Kill Kieran. Yes.
That's the weight loss strategy. How can I compete with that shit?
But that's where we are. Look, y'all go check Rob out YouTube, Twitch, and of course Comfy.Stream. And look, we'll see you Monday night for Manic Monday. So until then, you take care, and as always, God bless. And
That's what Danny accommodates.
See y'all.
And hopefully River will be sober by Monday.
We will spade and we will neuter until there is nothing left.
A dream to some, a nightmare to others.
That was fun, Rob.
It's a blast. Sorry, I know I get carried away.
No, you did great. No, we appreciate it. You made a lot of great points tonight, and
we didn't have to think as much.
Yeah.
Oh no,
So I'm still streaming, just so you know. So keep the
Good. Then I'll say this: the first time I listened to you, didn't much care for you because you some of your word choice I disagreed with, saying things like you can't do this, and it's just like
I get hyped. I do. Yeah,
you do get a little hype, and so I'm sitting there with Sparky. And he's like, oh, this is robnoerr. He does this and this and this. And I was like, great, but why does he keep saying that we can't do these things? It should be we should not do these things. But
no, it's a valid.
And watching more of your stuff, like I see what you're doing. I see what you're about, and
I am like sort of. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. I like to see the bit Chenko, right, versus Jordan Peterson. There'd have to be a glass screen there to keep them apart, right? Because you know what's going to happen. Chenk's going to get angrier and angrier, while Peterson's going to be getting calmer and calmer. And eventually, Cenk is just going to run that screen and kill himself.
They really would send, if they were going to send anyone, they would send Anna Kasparian after
It'd be worse for her.
And
you wouldn't be able to see this. You wouldn't be with her. You wouldn't be able to see the screen because she'd be screaming so much it'd just be covered in saliva.
So, if you want to see what that would look like, she did debate Dennis Prager lately, and
she went on stage with Ben Shapiro at one point, and they actually started agreeing on things. It was kind of creepy.
Oh, that was before she had a plastic, wasn't it?
This is like three-ish years ago.
No, so not. Can you remember when Chen and her confronted Alex Jones?
You mean when Alex Jones confronted them at Politicon?
Yeah, but she was acting just like a whore egging her pimp on. That's exactly what she was acting like. I'm sorry.
That's been her shtick the whole time.
What is the name of the British comedian? He was in the movie V for Vendetta.
Stephen Fry?
Stephen Fry. Okay, there's a debate where Stephen Fry and Jordan Peterson are on stage, and let me find the guy's name that was on with him. It was a monk.
He's a nice guy, but I'm not sure if he still is. But I think he's still a leftist, but he's one of those leftists you can actually have a debate with.
Yeah, he's
I'm an
atheist.
atheist.
Last year?
It was 2018.
I'm an atheist as well, Rob. But I would count myself as an atheist who says I don't believe in God. Not I believe there is no God. If
Right.
you get the distinction.
Yeah, I do. He on the stage with him was a guy by the name of Michael Eric Dyson. I don't know if you all know who that is. He is
Doesn't ring
this.
any bells.
Nope.
So Michael Eric Dyson is a black activist you see on MSNBC and stuff all the time. Let me try to do a Michael Eric Dyson.
Oh, is that the guy who was LARPing over in Ukraine?
No. That's a different.
That was a journalist. That was that guy. That guy's an idiot.
So Michael Eric Dyson, he'll say things like this: the frequency of the objectivity of the racism indicative and indelitive of this country understands that the racism sees the indelibility of the black man's infidelity. Right? Like, that's the way this guy talks. He's one of those people. You know, kind of sounds like Reverend Jesse Jackson. I bring it up because that's as close as you'll see Cenk Uygur to debating Jordan Peterson. Because if you watch that debate, it is insane how Michael Eric Dyson just starts calling Jordan Peterson a racist. And basically Stephen Fry as well. And Stephen Fry is just like Stephen Fry, regardless of what you think of him, he's certainly a lefty type guy. The guy's not fucking racist, right?
Oh, he's a likable guy, though.
Yeah, he's likable. He's a gay guy. He's an atheist. Like, this isn't like hardcore conservative. The debate was on free speech, and so Stephen Fry doesn't agree with many of Jordan Peterson's positions, probably, but they both agree in the nature of free speech. And so it's an interesting. I think you guys would have a blast watching that debate because it's insane. Like, it looks like a fucking Twitch debate. How people just are like going at each other's throat. Except here it is on this very serious, like, global platform.
Well, here's one for you, Rob. I've been seeing there's more and more of them creeping up where, React videos. You get the black people reacting to Thomas Sowell, the truth about slavery, the truth about freedom, and they're amazed that the reason they're not slaves is because of white people. The reason their ancestors were slaves is primarily because of black people.
It's very difficult. The world is a complicated place. History is complicated, right? And it's funny, the things that we should be able to agree when it comes to history, we're told not to. Like, for example, I consider myself a nationalist. I consider myself Western chauvinist. The West is the best. Our values, our culture is the best. It is. It doesn't mean I shit on other cultures, but, like, for example, I'm sorry, I refuse to accept I refuse to accept cultural relativism to the point where, like, child brides are okay. No, they're not. They're objectively not okay.
One thing about Western civilizations, plural, is, and I'm using the term as it was originally intended to be used, they've always been progressive. You take medieval England, right? One time, a serf's life was shite, right? 50 years later, that serf's grandson or son, his life's shite, but it's twice as good as his father's. And then further on down the line, and that's why we had stuff like the civil rights movement, the suffrage movements, I couldn't. Universal suffrage.
Right. So we should be able to agree that there are objective truths that we could say this is better than the other way. But then there are things that they can't accept that. The left can't accept that. But then things that, are more complicated, they make black and white. Like, for example, it is just the idea that, white people, slave owners, black people, victims is bullshit.
Everybody.
That's bullshit,
everybody
right? There's this myth they call the noble savage myth, right? Which is the idea that, like, before Europeans came to the United States, it was just peace and love, and Native American tribes were just giving each other flowers and stuff. No, that's not true. There was horrible violence and bloodshed and child sacrifices. Not all cultures. Some cultures were very, in the sense you're using it, progressive, but many weren't. Right? It's complicated. It's a very complicated scenario.
Peace and love. Yeah, like the peaceful hippie, like flower children Aztecs.
Right.
Now, they never did anything violent, did they?
I was reading the other day. One of the things they would do, they believed tears from young boys were helpful to them. Not young girls, which I found interesting. What they would do is intentionally chisel out the teeth of these boys so that the nerve endings would show, and they would cause, because they found that they could cause more pain doing that while keeping them alive for a longer amount of time. And then they would torture these children You know, now, does that mean that every Native person was like, no, I'm not saying that. But the idea that it was just like peace and love, the truth is that any society that achieved a technological and military might was exploiting other cultures around them. That's
everywhere.
what history is. Now, we could try to move on from that and try to get better, but they constantly just, point to this. So yeah, you're absolutely right. Like, there are a lot of people. I saw one of the best examples I saw was some program. I can't remember what show it was, but they had a black celebrity and they were doing a history of his family. And he was like, I know my family was slaves. And they, at the end of the show, they're like, we found your great-great-grandfather or whoever, and he was a slave. And he was owned by Native Americans.
Yeah.
And this black actor didn't know what to say because he always assumed, well, it was white Europeans that owned my family. And then he found out it was Native Americans. And it's complicated, right?
I can't remember who it was, but there was one person on like that, and he did. He went into his ancestry. He found out black guy, and he found out his great grandfather was a slave owner.
Yeah,
and some of the slaves he had were white.
Well, the first slave in America was a white.
Yeah. And it wasn't just Irish. And no, they weren't all indentured servants.
Yeah,
they weren't all
indentured servitude was a
servants.
huge thing here.
They weren't all indentured servants. They were actually slaves.
Right. But in some ways, indentured servants were actually worse because if you own slaves, you own them for life. And so what you would do is you would exploit the indentured servants because you're like, well, I only got them. It's like when you get a rental car. You'll beat the shit out of it because at the end of the day, you're turning it back. But that slave you owned. So you were.
The other thing about indentured
So
servants
it's
is
really funny.
you could add on to their time by, I'm providing you board and I'm providing you food, so that's going on your bill. Oh, look, you've actually spent more than you've made for me. So that's another 10 years on your service.
They want to talk about Juneteenth. Like Juneteenth was the last time that any slave in America was freed. No, the 5 civilized tribes of Oklahoma were some of the longest holdouts for slave owning, because since they were Indian territory, they were their sovereign nation, and the federal government, even though they abolished slavery, they had to convince the tribes to give up their slaves.
Yep. There was this video I watched, Thomas Sowell video about how the English, more than the rest of the British, because the Scottish even before devolution had their own say in how they interacted. Slavery was legal in the UK, became illegal in the UK, and then we decided to spread it everywhere. And there was this guy, but the reparation, but they only paid out to slave owners to recompense them for losing the slaves. But so you're trying to detract from a monumental task. The British actually try to stop a ridiculously lucrative trade. Yeah, cutting off their noses to satisfy their morality by this bit of pettiness. Yeah, and that's all it is.
It's everything. Yeah, it really is. I do have to get going. I want to tell my audience though that you should check these guys out. Aircraft Sparky's channel. I put the link there. Aircraft put some of his links to others' channels. Please check them out. You guys are streaming every Monday and Wednesday, just normally, right? And then I know you'll see Sparky. He's doing debates and panels and things like that. Out there, like me, sacrificing myself, talking to these left-wing lunatics that just sap the strength out of you and your spirit for trust in humanity every time you interact with these
Sparky pulls his puppets off the shelf and makes them do lewd things midstream. So
at least
advice for you,
Sparky, you're muted.
Bit of advice for you. It's the best
still
thing
muted, Sparky.
It's the best thing he's ever said.
Keep going with the mute. It sounded good.
I did that to Demon Mama in the middle of a hippy dippy. I pulled out my devil and had Lucy do some loosey goosey stuff while Demon Mama was doing Demon Mama stuff.
Whenever anybody calls you a racist, a Nazi, misogynist, transphobe, whatever, you just turn on. Yes, I am, and I'm proud of it. It will stop them in their tracks. Works every time, because The response they always expect is, yeah, embarrassment, backpedaling, and no, I'm not. But if you actually just barge forward through that, they don't know how to react.
Well, it's like I keep saying, everyone's a little bit racist, and
Rob, I appreciate you, man. Thank you for coming by tonight, bro. My eyes are floating, so I'm gonna run off. I appreciate you. Your guys over at Church Chat. Thank you all for watching. I appreciate y'all. Y'all take care and God bless.
Yeah,
See you, everyone. Thank you.
Click that button.
Leave studio. There we go. All right. Then we get this guy. This guy always comes up. Oh, he's not there? There he is. There's the guy. He always comes up. Hi, guy. All right. I'm back. All right. I got to go. So, yeah, good stream. I like talking to Sparky. Those guys are all great. So, good stuff. Sorry I was a little verbose, but it was fun doing a show with them. Tomorrow, hopefully I'll be streaming, but if you're still with me, you probably know this. My son, Hank, he's almost 2 years old. He gets his leg cast taken off tomorrow, so it's going to be an exciting day. We're going to wake up early. We got quite the drive, about an hour and a half to get to the Children's Hospital. So we're going to get that all taken care of. So keep me in your thoughts and prayers. I'm sure everything will go fine, but I'm very excited to get back with my man running around with 2 legs. So I can't wait for that. But had a lot of fun. Check out Aircraft Sparky's channel. I think he's a really good guy. Particularly he's streaming on Monday nights. If I stream on Mondays, it's like no video because I'm never at my home office. So, check him out. I think it's important that we support like-minded people. So he's a good guy. And he did crush me in the weight loss competition. So hopefully I'll get him. I'll be losing weight here, maybe at a bigger clip going forward. I hope so. But he did, one thing I could say is it was a friendly competition, and I think it did help me lose weight, which is always a good thing. So appreciate him. Thank all of you, all donations, anyone who donated or followed. Thank you very much. I did get in touch with Adam from Sitch and Adam, and I do think that he responded to me during the show that they are going to have me on the show. So that's good. Hopefully I'll start reaching a bigger audience. I think I'm talented enough. I think I have a lot to say. And I think that, I'll do good with a bigger audience. So you people that have stuck it with me the entire time, or even if you're just new, I really appreciate it. I do this primarily for entertainment. It is not my job. I enjoy streaming. That's why I stream. And the fact that there is an audience here to interact with me makes it all the more enjoyable. So this is as much your channel as my channel. And I really do. I'm humbled that anyone wants to watch me. So I thank you guys a lot for that. So thanks. Your tweets already helping apparently get me on Sitch and Adams. So it'll be pretty cool. All right. Thanks so much, everyone. I'm going to find someone real quick to raid. I didn't look to do that. Let's do Brant for Liberty. But I got to go. My wife's going to kill me. I got to be up bright and early getting ready for the trip to the hospital. So I'm so excited. You have no idea how excited I am. Poor guy. To see him in pain was the worst. He hasn't been in pain here. He's been moving around quite awesomely, even with his full leg cast. But, man, the little guy's just chomping at the bit to be out there. And I just hope tomorrow everything goes swimmingly. He gets that great report and we get that cast off. So keep us in your thoughts and prayers. And hopefully I'll have good news for you tomorrow night. So thank you so much, everyone. Enjoy this raid of Brant for Liberty. And as always, have a good one.
Now, yeah, this